Hey everyone, I'm Steph,
I'm Megan.
and welcome to another episode of Late Night Reads.
This week we are diving into the magical world of romantasy and covering Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry.
Let's start with why we selected Shield of Sparrows. We love a good series, and we know this book is the first book in a multi-book series. Plus, Devney Perry is a super established author writing in romantasy for the first time, and she's written over, I think, 50 contemporary romance novels. So we're excited to see how her writing translates into this genre. Plus, we got enemies to lovers. Need we say more is like our favorite trope. And we have monsters in this book, which is a key component of this fantasy world. And we actually haven't covered a book with monsters on the podcast yet, which is kind of surprising.
Yeah, very interesting.
And then the part that I liked most is the ending of this book isn't a massive cliffhanger, like we've seen in a lot of romantasy books lately, which is just kind of really appreciated. It does feel right because I didn't feel like I wanted to throw the book. When I was done, I was kind of like, okay, I feel like you wrapped up part of the story. I know, or at least I think I do, where like the second book is gonna go. I have a ton of unanswered questions, an obscene amount of crazy theories, but I do feel like I could put the book down and go like, okay, I feel like I know part of the story. Not like,
Yes.
what do you mean?
Yeah, like a part of me is fulfilled. I still have many questions, but yeah, exactly. It's like some things got wrapped up pretty nicely, and you're like, okay, I'm satisfied with that.
Yes.
But here are a few things that you should also know about our author, Devney Perry. So she is a New York Times, USA Today, and Amazon bestselling author of more than 50 romance novels, as Stephanie already mentioned. And Shield of Sparrows is her first romantasy. So it's currently in development with Amazon MGM, which will be super cool to see. I think they'll do justice, hopefully, with Amazon. And fun fact, she was actually born and raised in Montana, but now lives in Washington with her husband and two sons.
Before we jump into this book, a couple of key reminders as always. This episode will contain spoilers. We assume if you're listening, you've read the book, you've been warned. This book contains so many topics that may be sensitive for some readers: animal abuse or death, or like monster abuse or death, assault, blood, child death, regular death, emotional abuse, fire, medical trauma, suicide, violence. It's got a lot.
Yeah, it's got a lot. But on the plus side, it is very, very pretty.
It is
So,
very pretty.
and besides my notes, like you can see like the binding is beautiful.
I
Like
love
just
the
like,
sprayed edges. I know, they're
oh,
so pretty.
it's so gorgeous. That was one of the reasons I was like, I'm so excited to read this book because it's so pretty. Now let's talk tropes. First, we have royalty. So, from the very beginning, royalty is a major theme of this book, with Odessa being a princess of Quentin. And then we have her having to marry the prince of Tara, so there's your two royals right there. Next, you have the arranged marriage. So, this is also where the Shield of Sparrows treaty comes in. Basically, the king of one country has to choose a sparrow or a princess to marry into another country, which keeps everybody in peace. But what's tricky here is the sparrow was supposed to be Odessa's younger sister, May. And suddenly it becomes that a whole matter of a bride prize comes into play. And Odessa ends up being chosen as the sparrow and also ends up being stuck in this arranged marriage, which was never supposed to be her plan. And so that's just like the craziest trope right there. She's forced into this marriage, had no clue, no warning about it until day of. Next, we have enemies to lovers. It's pretty obvious here that Odessa hates the Guardian from their very first encounter, especially given what she's heard about him. Next, you have a secret identity. Throughout the entire majority of the book, Odessa believes she is married to Xavier, who turns out is actually the prince's cousin. And we find out who she actually ends up being married to is the Guardian. But it's a spoiler, you already know it. And then finally, we have a slow burn trope. There is so much angst and sexual tension in this book that doesn't pay off for more than 50 chapters. Which kills me, which you might even add in here a one bed trope, because at one point there is a little bit of like the one bed, like will they, won't they? And then, of course they do. It's fun. So lots of fun tropes in here. The slow burn did kind of kill me a bit. I was like, oh my God, let's go, let's go. But it was such good story building, world building leading up to it. So still very nice in my book.
I agree. So, in terms of every magical twist, a lot happens. So we're going to try and do most of this justice, and I think talk a lot about what we think some of it means and how it ties into our theories.
Yes.
So we first meet Odessa. I think it's safe to say she's like contemplating jumping off a cliff because she's the wrong princess of Quintus, which is a very strong opening.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was a little like taken aback by it at first, but one of the themes you see throughout the book is this like feeling of inadequacy based on how her father and stepmother treat her, and her entire life is gray. She has to wear gray clothes. She lives in a gray room. She has to dye her red hair brown. I guess because you can't really dye hair gray. I mean, you could.
Yeah.
But
it was so crazy to me. I'm like, why? Why are they doing it to her hair? But I have a theory about that later.
Yeah, same. And I think it's because they're trying to like intentionally strip her life of color. And I think color is really important for some reason. And she's engaged to this guy named Banner. Also another arranged marriage because he loves the status of being engaged to a princess. Great. Doesn't love her. Good for you. Oh. He's also loyal to the king. So why not have him marry your daughter? But no love shared, no warm affection. There is nothing going on between the two of them besides this arranged marriage for shits and giggles. And when he sees her, he tells her that the Guardian is in town, which is a problem because this man killed Banner's brother, which also then resulted in Banner's mother committing a suicide. And we are only in the first chapter, and we have 2 mentions of suicide. And I was just like, why was that not a trigger warning mentioned in the book?
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why we included it, because it does feel, especially if that topic is very triggering for you, like it should have been. But I felt bad, like at this first moment, I'm like, I feel bad for Banner. I'm like, your brother, this guy killed your brother. Yep. And now like the king is like forcing you to be in the same room with him. Like the king must be a horrible man. And then I learned his brother was a scumbag, and I was like, your brother deserved it. Deserved it.
Take back any of the pity I felt for you.
Yes. And then I felt real bad about feeling any pity for him or Banner. So.
Yeah. So then we have Odessa's sister, May, and she is the Sparrow, which again means she's supposed to marry the Prince of Tara thanks to another arranged marriage and long-standing treaty. But what is unusual about this story compared to other romantasies is the king doesn't follow the natural line of succession. And instead of choosing Odessa, who is the oldest daughter, to be the Sparrow, he chooses May, who is the youngest. And this kind of immediately makes you wonder, why wasn't Odessa chosen? Like, what was the reason to hold her back? Is it because she's supposed to take over the kingdom? Like, I don't know. But again, you're like, that's kind of fucked up. Like, what? Why are you skipping her? That's not cool.
Exactly. Well, and then it's like her little brother is going to be king because in Quentin, like women can't be like take over,
that's right.
But in Tara they can. It's like, I guess every kind of land has its own rules on how succession works, which is kind of interesting. But it's
so she just got like screwed out of everything.
Exactly.
Basically. Oh, I felt so bad for her. Well, it feels
a little like Cinderella-esque, right? Because her mother died, or that's what we're told.
Yeah.
Her stepmother treats her pretty poorly. She doesn't feel like she's a servant or anything like that, but she lives this life of gray. Everyone is more important than her.
Yeah.
So
she's second to everyone, which just sucks. And then we live in this land called Calandra, and here there are animals, monsters, and crux. So first, we also have the gods. So we have the old gods, which are Amma and Oda. They created the animals as gifts to humans. We're assuming this is probably where like the horses, birds, etc., all that stuff fits in. And then we have the monsters, who were created by the gods' children, which are the 6. So Amma and Oda had 6 children, and those children, for some reason, created monsters. And we're like, okay, why? But they basically crafted predators in the image of animals, but they're just more beautiful, powerful, and deadly. And these monsters are meant to serve as a reminder to the humans and the animals that we are all fragile and insignificant. And I'm like, is this just population control, perhaps? But even worse than that, we have the crux, which are more feared than the monsters. So it's like you have the animals, then you have the humans, then you have the monsters, and then you have the crux. And you're like, This is so crazy. And again, the crux are more feared than the monsters. And there's suddenly, not suddenly, but there's a migration of crux that happens every few decades. So we're basically on the cusp of waiting for the next migration to happen when we enter into the story. And we just know that when the crux show up eventually in this book, shit's gonna hit the fan. And we also learn about the Voster priests. So these are guys who have magic, and they basically have this weird reaction that Odessa gets. She gets a very strong reaction whenever they're around her. So like she feels like there's like a prickly, like spider touching feeling, like whenever she's near them, which you're like, does everybody feel this way, or is that just her? Like what's interesting. And throughout most of the book, we're led to believe that everybody has a similar reaction to their presence, but it does turn out that it's only her, even though we haven't found out why. So again, that's a little bit of a cliffhanger to the next book. And so Odessa encounters this Voster priest after she is soaking wet from jumping off of the cliff. And he uses his magic to pull the water from her hair and makes a crown of water above her head. And at first, you don't really think a whole lot about the encounter, but it's clearly foreshadowing her becoming the sparrow. Next up, we meet Odessa's stepmother, Margot, who definitely gives that Cinderella stepmother vibes big time. She seems to only tolerate Odessa's presence and is the one who insists on her hair being dyed brown. And at this point, we're led to believe by Odessa, who narrates the story, that it's because maybe her red hair reminds Margot too much of Odessa's mother. But the ending of that book seriously makes us question if there's another reason why it's important for her red hair to be hidden. Interesting. And again, Margot's also the one that only ever puts her in gray. Like she refuses to dress her in any other colors. And at some point when she's like, where's the blue dress? It's like, girl, she never had a blue dress. You only put her in gray.
Why are you asking for things that you already know?
Yeah, exactly. Like, don't play silly with us here.
So then we get to this big meeting with the Tarons in the throne room, and there's a lot that happens. It was a little bit like trying to read through it all and all these new characters. I had to do it a couple times. So they're asked by the king to kill the Marrow-eels?
Yeah, Marrow-eels.
Marrow-eels? We'll call them Marrow-eels.
Yeah.
And they were supposedly causing all these problems with trade routes, and they've killed 6 of them. And they've done that before they arrive, or so we're led to believe.
Yes.
So then we have the Tehran prince, Xavier Wolf, who happens to be there, and no one is expecting him to come. And he's May's future husband, thanks to the treaty that requires this arranged marriage. And the king's ready to pay him some money for the service that they provide of killing the Marrow-eels?
Marrow-eels?
Marrow-eels? It just sounds so weird.
It's so weird. It's
so
like
weird.
I kept thinking of like those eels from The Princess Bride, that like come out, the shrieking eels, but these things are supposed to be like gigantic, like a combo of like a narwhal and an eel, but like a shark too.
Yeah, I thought of them from The Little Mermaid.
These are definitely not the Little Mermaid's eels.
I don't think that's what she was going for, but in my brain, like that's what I thought of.
Right, yeah.
But scarier.
But scarier. Yeah.
But scarier. He's prepared to pay all this money, but they don't want that. They want a bride prize. And I read that and I was like, excuse me, what? What's a bride prize? Like that we don't sell women. But apparently the Chain of Sevens does. So any warrior that risks his life against a beast is granted a prize of their choosing if they return with 7 heads of slain females of that species.
Which is interesting.
Right?
Like, why? Why 7?
Why? Well, because supposedly if it's 7 females, it'll break like the chain of reproduction and really like hurt the species, which I guess makes kind of sense.
Yeah.
But 7's a very specific number. And it's another treaty signed with magic. So if the king doesn't fulfill the price that they request, the Voster priest will kill him. And I'm like, cool. And Prince Xavier was like, I would like to marry Odessa. Like, not her. When he points to May. Like,
I don't want this pretty girl May. I want the lady in the back in the gray.
And that was his prize, his bride prize. And he'd like to marry her tonight. And there is not a single person in that room besides the prince and the guardian who are pleased about this.
Yeah.
Right?
Everybody else is like, what?
What the fuck?
Especially Odessa, who's just like, what?
Like, I felt like that moment where she's like, are you pointing at me?
Like someone behind me, right?
Is that right?
Me.
Like, me? No, I don't think so. And there's nothing that can be done by the king. And then that's also when we learn that in this land, everyone has a starburst in their eye, and the color is tied to where they're born. So it's another piece of magic. So everyone in Quentin has an amber starburst, except for Odessa. Her eyes are solid gold. We also learn that the Guardian's eyes don't have a starburst, but they change colors. So, which is, I think, a potential breadcrumb for something that's going to be important in future books, or at least that's what I'm assuming. And I also wonder if there's something more with Odessa's eyes, but she doesn't know it because she's the narrator. But we'll talk more about that.
Yes.
So basically, they just are kind of like, Xavier's like, I will marry her tonight. Thank you, next. And then like leaves.
I'm just going to drop this big bomb in your throne room and like cause extreme chaos. And then I'll see you at the wedding.
See you at the wedding.
Yeah.
So they all leave. And then May, who at the time you think, like at least I thought, was like a somewhat like prim and proper princess, like basically attacks Odessa with like a knife and is like, what did you do? And she was just like, nothing? Like
nothing.
Why would anyone think that Odessa would want to be in an arranged marriage with someone she's never met? She doesn't really want to be in an arranged marriage with Banner, and she's met him.
Yeah.
So
at this point, she's like, God damn, I wish I just jumped off that cliff and kept swimming.
Like, kept swimming and like went somewhere else. Like didn't come back.
Yeah.
Why did I come to this meeting?
Yeah.
Right? Like she has no idea what's going on. And the king,
or she's like, this meeting could have been an email.
Right? Oh, it could have been an email. Can you imagine if you got that via email? I will not marry your sister. I will marry you. Like you were added to the CC.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will be marrying Odessa tonight.
And she responds with like, I'm out of office at the moment. I am jumping off a cliff. Bye. Yeah. That'd be funny.
Hashtag unsubscribe.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you have like the king who should be like, I mean, he's their father, but he's like, I feel bad for you, but I'm not willing to die for you. So you're going to have to marry Xavier.
He has to die. And he's just like, sorry, kid.
No.
Sucks to be you.
Sucks to be you. Sucks to be you. And then it turns out he's been plotting with May for years to use this marriage as a way to spy on Tara and find a way into Alisaria.
Yeah. Alisaria, yeah.
Alisaria. And she needs to learn about the Guardian's powers and kill him. And I'm like, excuse me, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, now you gotta be a spy.
Now you gotta be like, what? Also, based on how the Guardian's described, I am all for kick-ass, powerful women. I, at no point, and we're like a couple chapters in, thought that any person, man or female, could kill the Guardian.
Yeah, no.
And I'm
the Guardian
like,
is like, no one's gonna
so
kill
I'm just
him.
like, this seems like a really poorly thought out plan, King.
Yeah.
And then it turns out this is all part of a plot because the king's like, I heard that Xavier travels with, like, his team, and he might show up if I have this request for him to kill these Marwheels, and then he might see May and agree to marry her sooner. I'm like, is she that beautiful that you thought he was like one look at May and was like, yes, let's get married tonight?
It's like, you know what? I'm here. I got the time. Like,
got the time. You got the food.
Yeah, let's just make this a party and get married. Why not? Let's not wait until, the equinox or whatever. Yeah,
exactly.
Let's get married right now.
And
that did not go to plan.
That did not go to plan. That backfired very poorly. Because the whole thought was if she got in sooner, she could hopefully find out this way to Alisaria before the Crux migration. Because there's something there the king wants. And he believes it's his only chance to stop the Crux. And at this point, I'm like, what is the Crux? Because they've talked about it. We've seen like some paintings of it. They're really scary monsters or a type of monster or something like that. But I'm like, we're talking about them. Can someone better explain to me what the hell is going to happen? Besides, it's going to be bad. Which I feel like we still, even though we see a little bit of it later in the book, I still don't feel like we get a good understanding of like exactly what happens. Yeah. Maybe that's book 2. And he also is like, entreaties can be broken, even if they're signed in blood and with magic. And I'm like, okay,
What's your plan, dude?
what's your plan? But I'm not going to tell you about any of this. And I feel like that's like another thing that's probably going to be important because there's a lot of treaties that we learn about throughout this book and a lot of blood oaths because apparently we don't sign things with just pen. Everything has to be done in blood. So it's just, there's a lot going on here that, especially like in that scene alone, that I feel like we learn.
Yeah, exactly. So Odessa is screwed and has to get married and is trying to get dressed for her wedding, which, you know, all she has to wear is gray stuff. And so Margot's like, well, where's the blue? Where's the blue? And, you know, her handmaids are like, what are you talking about? This girl's only ever had gray. And they're like, well, we have this white dress, but they only wear white to funerals. But they're like, well, I guess this is just going to have to work. And so, you know, us reading it, we're like, oh yeah, of course you wear white to a wedding. Like, it's going to be beautiful, but not here. So she's wearing a white dress and she has a like special necklace and journal that she actually keeps hidden in the back of her closet, like under a like hidden like compartment. And we definitely know right then and there, this necklace is going to be significant later in the book because she clearly is very like secretive about this necklace and like wants to keep it hidden at all times. And we basically know it's a wing of silver that's inlaid inside a circle of gold. But it like actually isn't really like a gold. It's kind of like a hue of like red and orange. And I'm like, is that like her hair? Maybe?
I thought too.
Yeah. And right away I'm thinking like this has something to do with your hair, maybe like from your mom of some kind. I don't know, but it was just like, yeah, this is coming back later for sure. So she's got her white dress on. She has all of her stuff packed up and like she's got her hidden things, her hidden items like packed on her person. And it's time for the wedding. But this is such short notice that there isn't even like a ceremony or a party. It's just a marriage decree and signing of the treaty. And during this process, we learn a few very interesting things. So again, this treaty requires the arranged marriage, and the whole thing is called Shield of Sparrows, hence the name of the book. A couple of rules inside of that treaty. A king cannot kill his sparrow, and a sparrow cannot kill her king, directly or indirectly, without both of them dying. So basically, if you try and kill your husband, you're going to die.
Dead.
Yeah. And if he tries to kill you, he dead. So, you know, you kind of stuck with that person no matter what. And then basically both Xavier and Odessa's hands are then bandaged up because they had to cut themselves to get a vial of blood to use when signing the treaty. We actually only ever really see Odessa technically cutting her hand because Xavier just shows up with a vial of blood. So,
and a bandage.
Yeah, and a bandage. And you're like, okay, interesting. I'm a little suspicious here, but whatever. It's cool. Like, it's fine. Another weird thing, Xavier never speaks. The Guardian speaks on his behalf, which I'm like, very interesting here. And he says, like, Xavier Wolf makes this vow. Very foreshadowing for the Guardian being the actual prince. And he spoke, and not his cousin, who was posing as Xavier for most of this book. Xavier holds the vial of blood tightly in his hand, which, again, you're like, I don't really think too much of this, but it's a breadcrumb having to conceal that it's the Guardian's blood and that it is green and not red, which again implies that he has Lysa. So the Guardian basically does all of this ruse to make it look like she is marrying Xavier, his cousin, when really she's technically marrying him, even though it's like a body double kind of a thing. So Xavier, after the ceremony is done, the king's like, hey, like we can have some food, a little reception. And Xavier's like, nah, I'm out. He refuses to attend the wedding feast and instead kisses Odessa on the cheek, then leaves. And in fact, he's pretty much refused the king the entire time, like every interaction, which has really pissed off the king. Which you're kind of like, good for you. Like, yeah, good for you, like, just kind of like sticking it to him. But then you also find out later, I'm like, when you have nothing nice to say nothing at all. And I'm like, I think we could all learn a lesson sometimes in that, you know? And even Odessa later is like, I took a page out of his book and just remained silent. Like, I didn't want to tell the truth, and I just didn't want to speak. I just was quiet. So then Odessa tries to leave. And the Guardian just smirks at her and makes like a snide comment about her being eager to chase Xavier into his room. And then he calls her my queen. And you're like, okay, Guardian, what you doing? And then he mentions, by the way, we're leaving at dawn. And so this is the first, again, my queen reference that we get from the Guardian. Also foreshadowing a little bit more of his true identity later in the book. So I'm like, y'all just got married and he's calling you a queen. You don't even know.
I feel like this my queen or princess thing, and I know we're also like in the midst of the Blood and Ash series, so we're getting it there too.
We're getting it there too.
But I feel like it is becoming like the new good girl for me.
Ah, yes.
Right? Because I'm just like, oh,
my queen.
Like, right?
Yeah, I like it.
I like it a lot. I think I like it better than good girl.
My.
I know.
I think you're royalty at heart, you know?
Maybe. Or I'm just like, that's what we're reading right now. So I'm like, oh, and it's just different.
It's different. It hits different. That's true. And then it's also like super clear right here that like Odessa hates the Guardian at this point, based on what she's heard about him and then her limited interactions with him so far. So she's even fantasizing about poisoning him because, again, her dad has tasked her with killing him. And she's like, no problem. I don't like this guy. I will kill him for sure. And after seeing the wedding scene, we start to question if the Guardian was really the prince, which, of course, like he was. He was intentionally hiding his identity. We later learn this later in the book. But that was kind of like a dead giveaway to me when like Xavier was being quiet and only the Guardian was speaking. I'm like, yep, something fishy is going on here, but why?
But why? What's the reason?
What's the reason?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and I liked it because it felt so obvious, but then we get like the payoff still in this book. We didn't have to wait like 2 books to figure it out.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the next morning, Odessa goes down the dock to prepare to leave and takes like a quick little walk because who doesn't want to see the dead bodies of these Marwheels? Because she's like, oh, I've never seen anyone. I'll just go. That is not what I would choose to do first thing in the morning or probably ever.
No, I'm good.
And she described them as beautiful and deadly. And then like when she described their bodies, they did not seem beautiful to me.
Ugh.
Like they have sharp scales, so when you touch them, like you get cut. And I'm just like, what? Why are we here? And then the Guardian shows up and references her, like calls her my queen again. And I'm like, this man he has to be the prince. He knows where you are. He feels it. From here, I started noticing like he feels drawn to her. Like he seems to know where she's at.
Yeah,
and he does try and goad her a little bit. Because, like, he assumes, because she's wearing a crown down on the docks, and she assumes, like, you've packed nothing except for, like, crowns and jewels in your trunk. And the reality is, like, she has, I think, 3 trunks, like, very few belongings. And he, like, clearly has no idea who she is deep down yet at this point. And then she starts getting mesmerized by his eyes and feels things that she shouldn't feel for, as she refers to him, a murderer. Which at the time, like, I mean, we think he killed Banner. I mean, well, correction. He did kill Banner's brother. Yeah. We also know he's killed lots of other people. Were they all justified? Yeah. Probably. But at the point, she doesn't know that. Yeah. And then he asks her, basically, and I'm paraphrasing this, but like, were you up all night fucking Banner? And she's just like, that is none of your business. And then he says, one of my, like, not favorite, but like most memorable lines of the book. Isn't it? You're married to the heir of the Turon throne. Your children will be of his line. I'd say I have every right to be concerned with the seed you allow between your legs. And I was like, damn, you said that out loud. Those are inside thoughts.
Inside thoughts.
Inside thoughts. And
those inside.
Not only did you ask her if she was like having sex with her fiance, which you should have known was an arranged marriage to begin with.
Yeah.
But then you have to call this out. Like, are you trying to get a reaction out of her? Which I think is what he tries to do throughout a majority of the book.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then she goes to say goodbye to her family, who does at least show up. Because at some point, I was wondering, are they even going to come?
Yeah.
Just given their behavior. And she learns that May does know what her father has been planning this entire time. But he won't tell Odessa what it is. So she has no reason why she needs to figure out where this capital is. She has no reason why she needs to like to kill the guardian and figure out his powers, just that she needs to do it. And then Margot tells Odessa that she's stronger than she realizes, which feels like more like foreshadowing to a potential inner strength within her that I don't know if we necessarily see in this book. But it was kind of like the nicest thing that she says to
her. Did you
just
compliment me? Interesting.
Or did you think I'm so weak that, like, it's hard to know with this woman?
Yeah, it's so hard. And also, it's so sad that they did not bring her little brother to go say goodbye to her. It's like, why? Like, oh, well, he's sleeping. I'm like, but he may never see her again. Like, you promised that you got to say goodbye. Like, what the hell? Like, I was so upset for her. Because, you know, like, who knows when she's going to see any of them ever again. But, yeah, so sad. But here we do get to meet her handmaids, Jocelyn and Brielle. And you don't really think much of them at this point, but in the end, they end up playing a huge role in the book. In fact, it is Brielle who told Odessa early on in the book about Banner having a lover in town for years, which then we learn towards the end of that book, it is, in fact, Brielle herself. And so you're like, oh my God.
And I didn't notice that on the first read. Like, I thought nothing of it. And then, like, on the second time, I was like, shit, Brielle's the one that told her about this.
Mm-hmm. It's like, Brielle told you that she was the one that was fucking Banner. And we see Banner standing on a cliff, like, watching the ship to leave, and he's, like, waving, and we're like, oh, he's waving goodbye to Odessa, but no, he was waving to Brielle, waving to his lover goodbye. And although Jocelyn, the other handmaid, seems, like, very upset about leaving her mom, she really plays the part of being homesick so well that, like, she's much more nefarious about that later. And you're kind of just like, oh my God, these two bitches are so backstabbing. It's crazy. And, like, even Odessa is like, I was trying to be their friend, but, like, after the stuff that happens later, she's like, no, bye. Bye-bye.
Well, there's this point, I think, where she talks about how, like, the royal court is so backstabbing, and May, like, knows how to play with, like, these other women in the royal court, and they all kind of, like, gossip about each other and backstab each other, and she was hoping for some real friends, and I'm like, oh, sweetheart.
Not from them.
Not from them.
No. And then Odessa sees Xavier on the ship, and he informs her that most Turan women actually wear pants, no dresses. Which at first she's like, no, I'm not ever going to wear that. But then she kind of jokingly tries it on just to, like, see. And she's like, oh, I kind of like it. Like, these are comfortable. That's like, imagine getting to wear yoga pants for the first time. You're like, oh, this is great.
Where have these been my whole life?
Look at all these activities I can do. Like, I could do flips. I can swim and blah, blah, blah. And then
I was going to say, and now I feel like when people ask me, like, do you want to meet for lunch? I'm like, do I have to wear real pants?
Yeah, it's like, can I wear leggings? Can I wear yoga pants?
If I have to wear jeans, the answer's probably no.
Yeah, it's like, I can't make it. Something came up. Right? Yeah. So I'm really excited that Odessa gets a change of clothes here. You know, new scenery, new wardrobe. Good for you. Good for you. And then she gets a new name, you know, because he starts calling her Odessa Wolf, using her new last name. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's kind of fun. Wolf. Way better than Cross, I guess. Cross and Wolf. It's an interesting difference also between how Xavier refers to her and how the Guardian, who tends to use her maiden name Cross throughout a lot of the book. So he's either calling her my queen or calling her Cross. And Xavier just calls her, you know, Odessa Wolf or Odessa, you know. He doesn't really call her my queen too often, if at all.
I don't think he does.
No. It's very interesting. Little pet names there. And apparently this trip to Tara is going to be really, really difficult because they have to take a ship and there's danger with storms on the sea, and also there's monsters that live in the sea, like the marrow eel that they encountered before. So Xavier and crew traveled originally with 6 ships from Tara to Quentis, but only 3 of them now remain. And so they're like, oh goodness, this is going to be a lovely trip. I hope we all survive. And Odessa starts to learn that life in Tara is very challenging and rugged, quote, when it comes to monsters, safety is an illusion. And you're like, that's a bit foreshadowing too. So Xavier tells Odessa that he chooses not to speak because others often see it as a weakness, and then they try to exploit him, and typically they talk more than they should. And so really it's a tactic. And it's one of the first secrets that we see Xavier or the Guardian even share with Odessa to determine if they can trust her. And I do think, she's starting to gain his trust by not really telling anybody about that. So good for you, Odessa. Good for you.
And then we have like the first of many awkward moments between Odessa and Xavier when she's like, why did you choose me? And he doesn't answer. Great. Nothing, no better way to make a woman feel wanted than why did you choose me? Silence. Then she's like, well, do you desire me? And he responds, you're a beautiful woman. But he says it in a way that is like, absolutely not. I do not desire you. And so she's just like.
Which makes sense now that like what this situation really is. And you're like, okay, he's being so truthful,
He
doesn't tell a lie.
He doesn't.
He's just like,
no. Don't want. He's probably like, no, don't want to die.
Yeah.
Like not mine. And so she kind of goes like, does that mean we won't? And before she can finish the sentence, he like walks away. And I'm just like,
okay.
Okay.
This marriage is not going to be consummated, I guess.
Also, my thought was, but you're supposed to have children? Like the whole point of this treaty is for you to get married and have children and like to keep the peace. Do you know how children are made?
Yeah, at this point I'm like, is he gay?
Oh, I didn't even think that. That was a good.
I thought that for a long time.
You know what though? He's definitely bisexual.
Well, yeah, he is for sure. Yeah.
Definitely. He likes to share.
He likes to share. But then I'm like, is he gay? Like, I just don't know. Like he's forced into a marriage, like. But also you're like, but maybe he's not really the prince.
Yes.
So it's like there's so many scenarios where you're like, this could be this could be that.
Or like, do we just hate Quentin so horrible? Like, do we just hate this land so much that we're going to be mean to Odessa and just mindfuck her? Like,
yeah.
That also is an option.
Yeah. And crush her ego at the same time.
Crush her ego. Like slowly. Yeah. Like whack-a-mole. Every time she comes up and is like, but whack. That's what it feels like.
Why did you pick me? Ugh. Do you desire me? Ugh.
Whack.
Are we going to have kids? No.
Whack.
You're like. Yeah.
Oh.
It's like the crux coming down, just whacking her on the head.
Exactly. And there was like just the poor girl. And she's like all alone, right? Because like because we have like Jocelyn and Brielle who are just like throwing up constantly. There's no one else talking to her. And then we said the voyage was going to be difficult. And having a Mara wheel attack it makes it rougher. Also, when Odessa accidentally falls overboard and has to swim. And it was just like, this is not great. This is not great. Thank God you're wearing pants, not a dress.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, the Guardian will go in after her because we saw him earlier, right? Swim fast like another ship. He doesn't. He sends a harpoon. And I'm just like, talk about being traumatized. Can you imagine a harpoon flying at you and then you have to like grab onto the rope and be pulled back into the boat? Like, sure. That sounds not life-threatening at all.
She's like, what if you missed? He's like, but I didn't.
But I didn't.
And you're like, ah.
And you're like holding on to this. And all I'm thinking is like, can you imagine like how much that rope is tearing up her hands? Like I'm thinking of like the practical parts, right?
Yeah. You're just like, don't slip with the salt water and like it's burning. And you're just
it's like spraying in your eyes. And then like, no big deal. But like the Mara wheel is just like right beside you trying to attack the ship. Eat you. Yeah. I mean, it's like, it's totally fine.
Everything's fine.
And she does make it back on the ship. And another harpoon gets the Mara wheel. So I guess like it did work out.
Right.
But then if, almost dying wasn't enough, the Guardian basically berates her as soon as she's back on the boat. Like, I told you to stay on the fucking boat.
Not like she chose to jump off.
Right? I'm sorry. When the Mara wheel was attacking the boat and I wasn't holding on tight enough and the boat or ship started to lift up and I slid into the water. Whoopsies.
My bad.
My bad.
I'll try not
So
to do that again.
I'll try not to do that. I'll try not to be on a ship when being attacked by a Mara wheel
Yeah.
and
So
control
crazy.
gravity.
Right?
And
Yeah.
what I love here is like she starts to do what I think she's been trained as like a princess to do, like apologize. And then she was like, "No, I'm not gonna apologize." And she stands up to him, which I
Yeah.
don't think she had ever done to anyone like in her family in the past. Because even when she asked like Margot to bring her little brother, like she didn't, and she didn't say anything. Like they didn't, she just lets everything go. So I was really proud of like her character in that moment because I think it started to show this tremendous growth. And that's when I started wondering is what is he trying to push? Like, does he see something in her and he's purposely trying to push and goad her to get her to come out of her shell?
Yeah. He's trying to unlock a certain thing inside of her.
Like the passion and fire. Because, like, if you think about like, this is completely unrelated, but it reminded me of like managing a team. And sometimes you see these people who are super, super talented and they don't realize like their talent or they don't realize how good they could be if they focused on this one area. Not that I'm saying that you should ever use language or behavior like the Guardian, but like you push and challenge them in different ways, right? Hopefully in motivational ways, not in the Guardian ways, and to help them like realize that and unlock it for themselves, because sometimes you can tell people how wonderful they are, how talented they are, or how much strength they have, and they don't believe it until they see it themselves. So it reminded me a lot of that.
Yeah, for sure. So inspirational stuff. Thank you so much.
Or he was just like
Love
a
it.
raging asshole. That was my other theory at this point in the book.
Yeah.
Either he sees something really deep and is trying to help her, or he is going to be an asshole.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
You
yet to
never
be
know.
determined at this point.
Yeah. Of course. But then, the next day she's like, I'm going to continue this, standing in for myself thing. And she's like, yo, hey, Guardian, I want a sword. And he's just like, that's hilarious. And Xavier's like, she's going to hurt herself, dude. Like, don't give her a sword. What are you talking about? This chick just like fell off the boat. Like, you're going to give her a very, very pointy stick? Bad idea. And so the Guardian's like, all right, I'm going to test your theory. Hands her a sword and she can barely hold it up. But she's like, I got this. So close.
I feel like that's what you and I would do, like just to prove a fucking point. Like, no, I don't care if it hurts.
I can do it.
Damn it.
Your husband says, you can't lift that heavy thing. And you're like, watch me. And then you're like,
Watch me.
and
I mean, you might take me to the ER later.
Yeah. It's like a vein is bulging and you're like, I got this. And yeah, you're out. Yeah, so basically she can barely hold it up, but she does prove that point. That results in Xavier agreeing to give her a sword, which eventually leads into the Guardian training her as well. And also at this point, Odessa overhears Xavier and the Guardian talk about how arming her is probably a bad idea, given how they think she's going to try and kill the Guardian at some point, indicating they likely know about her dad's plan, which is very, very true. So training for her starts the next morning with the Guardian, but instead of a sword, he gives her a dagger. He's like, let's start small, okay? And it reminds us a lot, honestly, of Xaden starting to train Violet initially with the constant like bickering back and forth, And Odessa is just so determined to prove that she can handle a weapon, even though she's like super struggling like for a long time throughout the entire book until she can finally kind of like figure it out. So we see Odessa ask the Guardian now for his name. She's like, your name is not Guardian. Like,
Guardian.
what is your name? And he's like, oh, I'm not going to tell you until you earn it, which is another little breadcrumb there. You're like, okay. And he says, like, you may earn my name one day, but you'll never earn my trust. And you're like, oh, shit. Like, that's gut-wrenching for her because that's, like, exactly how her family treated her, too. Like her dad clearly doesn't trust her, like her sister and her stepmom, and like clearly like Xavier is like uninterested, and like not even the Guardian is just like, I don't trust you. And she's just like, why? Like, this is not fair. So yeah, like even though she's on this new journey in life, a new family, new country, like she's just completely untrustworthy by everyone in her life, and she's just gonna have to prove it. And I think at that point, like that's when she has a turning point where she's like, I'm going to earn your trust. I'm going to earn Xavier's trust. I'm going to earn like the Guardian's like trust and respect. Like, I think at that point she's like, watch me.
I'm going to kill him.
Or I'm going to kill you. One of those.
Try
Watch
to
me kill you. Yeah, who knows?
That,
Yeah.
you know what? She'd probably earn his respect then, right? Because he doesn't think that she's qualified to have a sword or a dagger.
Yep.
So once they arrive in Tarat, they're in this long journey on horseback, and it is not fun for anyone at all.
It's brutal.
Especially, it's brutal. And if you've never ridden a horse, going on like a 2-hour horseback ride is pretty painful. Like if you're not used to it, I cannot imagine going for days on end. Like, oh. So, and it doesn't help that like she wants to talk to Xavier. Like she is really trying to get to know her husband or who she thinks her husband is. And she'll ask him questions and he's like, one word answers. Or like, yeah. And I'm just like, poor girl.
Talking to a wall. Talking to a wall.
Clearly super uninterested. And she's, I think two reasons, right? Her father has asked her to figure all this out and be a spy. So she wants to do what her father's asked because she feels a lot of loyalty to him and she wants to gain his trust. And then she also like I think wants to get to know her husband. She's like, I'm stuck with you forever. Like I'd like to know. And I think at the end of the day, it is an arranged marriage, but I think she deeply needs someone to care about her and trust her because she's not gotten that at home. And it's honestly heartbreaking for her. And then like every interaction she has with the Guardian is like purposely designed to grate on her nerves. It's like he's like, I have a map to how to push Odessa's buttons, and I'm going to push all of them to get a reaction out of her. What can I do to piss her off at this moment?
He has one cuff with a different map, and then this cuff is like, how do I piss off Odessa? This one today. That's how I piss her off. Yeah. And it works.
It works so easily. And and this is like the part that I think was really hard and frustrating for me, is he keeps using this knowledge that Xavier hasn't wanted to consummate their marriage against her. Like it almost becomes cruel because like she doesn't know the truth. And he's kind of like, I mean, I know you're not in his bed, is kind of like the gist he says a lot up until this point. And so it's really, for me, I'm like, why are you intentionally hurting her? But then you also, at this point, I think start to get him to see his interest, like the way he looks at her. Like you notice like the color of his eyes start to change. And then he makes these comments of how she can wander into his tent. And I'm just like, what?
His eyes are like a mood ring,
Oh, yes, they are. Yeah. Very much so.
So he's just like, look at my eyes and you can tell how I'm feeling, baby. Yeah. But then she's like, I'll look, but I might stab you. I might make them silver and make you angry. Well, she's just, and her constant line back to him is like, I hate you. And he's like, and don't forget that.
Got it.
He's like, yes,
right?
you do.
And she does at this point.
She does. She truly does.
And then I also didn't notice this on the first time I read through the book, but she notices that Xavier and the Guardian look similar, and she even says they might be cousins or brothers. Like very specifically. And I just didn't even pick up on that. Like I thought the Guardian was definitely the prince, but I didn't assume that like Xavier was his cousin or anything like that.
Or I even thought like maybe they were brothers, and like maybe the Guardian was like the second brother, and like, Xavier really was Xavier and he was like the crown prince, but it was kind of like a similar situation with Odessa where like he didn't want, like not that Odessa didn't want the responsibility, but like, like he was being looked over at some point or something. And so like Xavier had to like step in.
Ooh, I didn't think about that. It's a good one.
Yeah. There's so many theories that I had leading up to finding out the truth that the Guardian was actually the prince.
Yep.
It's fun.
And then you get this like next training session where he's like trying to teach her how to defend herself, which is like a super helpful skill. Like kudos to that. But he's also, I think, trying to break out like the fight in her. So like I said earlier, like I feel like he's
Cassian.
Yes, with Nesta.
Mm-hmm. Very much like so. I'm going to like break down like what is holding you back by trying to make you angry and like get you to fight back. Like fight for your life. Fight back.
Yes. Well, because like he even recognizes like even though he didn't really know her before he first saw her and Quentin, he seems to know like how her family treated her, and he makes comments about how she was like nothing to them. And it like enrages her, which is what he wants. But I'm also like, do we have to be an asshole about it? Because he wants her to fight for herself. But then even Xavier's like, dude, she's had enough. Like, and the Guardian's like, no, she hasn't. He was like, no, okay, fine. My bad. And that's when
she's
Xavier's
like, wait, you're the prince. Like, why is the Guardian telling you what to do?
Exactly. Which is like another point. I was like, there's no way the Guardian is not the prince.
Yeah. He has to be.
And then Xavier's like, also, I'm leaving. And Odessa's, but you will continue on with Tilia and the rest of the group. So let's go over things. I don't know why I chose you. You are beautiful, but I have no desire for you. We probably will never have sex. You're stuck with the Guardian who you hate and who likes to goad you and say mean things. Also, bye. Oh, also, you're in a land where there's lots of monsters that may or may not kill you.
Good luck.
Good luck.
Yeah. She's like, great.
Great. Like, what have I done wrong?
Again, she's thinking back to, I should have just kept swimming. I should never have come back.
Should never have went to that meeting.
Yeah,
never.
That damn email.
I feel like there's a lot of people in corporate America that are like, I never should have went to that meeting.
I never should have gone to that meeting. Yeah. Very true. So we meet Tilia, which is cool. And she's kind of a badass, which big fan of her. And we find out more that Tara is definitely a very rugged land. And it feels like they are intentionally really trying to disorient her and break Odessa down with this journey, both physically and emotionally. And it just doesn't help that along the way, they just keep getting attacked by monsters, like everywhere. Like first it was the Grizzer, which is kind of like a weird grizzly bear fusion animal. And now it's these berry wolves, which are like these weird, like werewolf spiky things, like just strange animals, monsters, that the children of the gods made for shits and giggles, But thank goodness we do have the Guardian and his ability to kill basically everything. Hence why he's called the Guardian, because he's got these like weird magical powers that make him like faster and stronger and just like able to kill better. Which we find out later why. And so then we get our group of travelers arriving in Trio, which Odessa sees this basically as just like a treehouse town. Which is really cool. I'm like, this is awesome. It's like literally, it reminds me of, I think it was one of the episodes of Star Wars, which I know you've never seen, where like they basically all just like live in the trees. And it's just like that. Like you just have like roads of like basically these like ladder bridges. Yeah. And like just like different like climbing them like things and just like everywhere. You just basically stay off the ground at all costs. Like the ground is lava if you can help it. Because they're basically in this monster territory where there's these Tarkins, and you're like, cool, another monster to worry about. Great. But she does get to live in a treehouse, which is cool. Minus the fact that every night her rope ladder just disappears, and you're like, cool. Like she's not allowed to leave at nighttime. But they're like, it's probably for her own protection, since she doesn't really make the best choices regarding her safety. And again, it's another way for just the Guardian to irritate her. So in Trio or Trow, I have to say it. Trio. Treehouse Town. Treehouse Town.
Treehouse Town.
TG. Yep. Odessa gets to train with the Guardian some more, and is now starting to regret asking for a sword, because she's like, this is not what I wanted. Like I wanted a sword, but I did not sign up for this. Because his training sessions are like brutal and they're long, and she just like hates him the entire time, and she's always thinking of ways to kill him. And it's a thin line really between love and hate here, because the two of them are just going at it, like bantering back and forth, and like he's tripping her and she's like trying to stab him and missing, of course. And it's just like, again, very Xaden Violet kind of a atmosphere going on. So we get to meet another character here, Kathleen, and she takes Odessa to visit the library that they have there in their little treehouse town. and she's hoping to find some books that will help her learn more about Tara and how to get to Alisaria. But again, she's kind of keeping that a secret. So she happens to find a book there about Quintus and skims through it, and it's just all about how Quintus is full of traitors, liars, and thieves, and she is super offended by this book after she reads it. But again, it kind of makes you question right there, though, like, how much of this is true? Like, are you really just like a sheltered princess and you didn't see the truth right in front of you about your homeland? Like, who knows? And then there's even a part in there about her father potentially being responsible for killing her mother, which starts spinning some theories up for you, like, oh my God, like, did he? And I'm like, did Margot kill her mother? Like, who killed her mother? Like,
is her mother dead? Where's the body,
her mother
Megan?
Dead? Yeah, I know. Where is the body? I don't know. So, but she just finds this book and it pisses her off. And at that point, when she like reads the author, I was like, what if the Guardian's name? What if he was the author? I was like, what if when he finally reveals his name, he's like, I'm Samuel. Hey. Yeah. It's like, oh shit.
That would have been bad.
That'd been bad.
That would have been different.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get to see another monster because we've not seen enough yet. A lionwick, which is like a mountain lion, which is not scary enough. So we add 5-inch claws and a barbed tail. Cool. Needless to say,
like these are just like evil Pokemon. You know, these are just like evil Pokemon monsters coming to life. In a weird way.
They're like what your child, like when your child draws like animals and it's like this weird imagination. That's what I feel like we got here. Well, what if it was like a mountain lion and that had like a baby with like a velociraptor, and then it also had
like a dinosaur barbed wire tail, and you're like, what?
That's what comes to life.
No, thank you.
So Odessa gets the shit scared out of her because lionwicks are excellent climbers. And we are in Treehouse Town. And then the Guardian shows up and he's like, yeah, I'm not going to kill it. And just like goes back to his treehouse, which happens to be right next to hers. And
yeah,
I'm like, what do you mean we're not going to kill it?
It's like when you see a giant spider on the ground and you're like, kill it. And he's like,
kill it.
No, just let it go. Just let it go outside.
Be fine.
She's like,
no, you're going to kill it, right?
Kill it, please.
My husband will be like, I'll take it outside. I'm like, no, it can come back in. We're going to kill it.
If it crosses into my territory, into my house, it dies.
It dies.
If it's outside, it can live. But once it comes inside, it's like,
it's dead.
Cross the line.
And then we see Odessa get jealous. I love this part because she like hears him talking to someone else, and she's like, well, who is in his bed? And she already thought, right, like there's some like romantic entanglement, right? Because like, why is she thinking about him when she's married to Xavier, but Xavier has no interest in her? But then I feel like all of her interest happens to be in the Guardian. It's just interesting.
And Guardian is definitely not shy about making sexual comments to her, you know?
No,
like,
none at all.
Whose seat is between your legs, and climb into my bed if you want. And it's just like very, not even like sexual innuendos, just like straight up, just like, I'm going to talk about sex to your face. I'm a sexual man.
I'm a sexual man.
Which normally we'd be like, yes, please. Hello. I'm very interested.
Very interested in this conversation.
Yes. But yeah, you're just like, But
we hate him right now.
Yeah. Like, you're
not
a douche.
Yeah. And we don't hate him because sometimes like enemies to lovers, like we hate him to love him. We don't hate him to love him yet.
Yeah. No, not
we
yet.
Just hate him.
He's not earned our love yet.
No, he has not.
Mm-mm.
But then she gets to train with the badass Talia when the Guardian isn't available, which at first I was like, oh, great, this will be better. No, it's like way harder, which...
It's like training with Imogen, you know?
Yes,
like,
that's exactly what I thought.
She's gonna kick your ass.
Because like she doesn't care.
No.
Like she doesn't care that you're... Like, because I think sometimes like Xaden and the Guardian both would go easier on them because they were women. And I think like Imogen and Talia are like, no, I'm gonna, like, someone's gonna try and kill you, then you need to know how to kill a man. So I'll teach you. And then there's like this really, I called it bizarre scene where Talia hides Odessa when King Ramsay comes into town and his men set fire to the library. So we have already heard like earlier some rumblings of this like militia, and when people join, they don't come back, which gives you like the impression that like King Ramsay is not necessarily like a good ruler, and he wants to, now he's burning the library, wants to limit the information that people have access to, and is probably like planning something super nefarious. But it's also where I noticed the Guardian takes off on his horse right before the king arrives, which I'm like, yep, you're the prince. If I wasn't convinced that you were the prince, I'm 1,000% convinced now. You don't want to see your daddy. You got daddy issues. I don't know I don't know why, but you got daddy issues. And then Odessa goes back to her room because not only while they were burning the library, they also went into other people's rooms and like trashed them, and they took her books that she had, but she has still her hidden journal and her necklace.
But she was smart and like didn't hide under her mattress, which is what she said she used to do. She like hid it like outside, like on like a tree limb on like the roof or something, like very strategically, like not where anybody would think to find a book.
Right. Which is smart. And then we get to meet Evie, who is the sweetest, cutest little girl. Love and Evie. Has the Guardian, who is at this point we think like an asshole, wrapped around her finger. Which I'm just like, okay, now you might have a soft side. This is where like I start to be like, oh shit. Now we're going to turn from the hate to the hate interested. Now I'm interested. And we're told that Xavier is her dad. So I'm like, think about being Odessa at this point. Your husband has like no interest in you. You had no say in him being married. And now you find out, oh, by the way, he has a child.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people know. Because he doesn't want her involved in court life, which that's all true. Like all those things are true.
Yeah.
He was like, I think asked him like, well, if I didn't come across her, would you have told me? He was like, no. I'm just like, no one trusts you.
At least he was honest there.
He was honest. That's the thing is, if you go back, I don't think him or the Guardian really ever lie to her.
Yeah.
They don't tell her the truth. They
speak in half-truths.
They speak in half-truths. What they say is not
like
a lie.
A lot of omissions.
Yes, but a lot of omissions.
Yeah.
Then if we haven't broken Odessa enough down, because this woman like just keeps coming. She goes and gives Xavier a kiss on his cheek. And he has like a visible reaction to it. Like his whole body goes stiff, not in the good way.
Yeah.
And not in a good way. Not in a good way. And she senses that like he pities her. And I'm just like, oh. And then the Guardian has seen this and makes a comment immediately about how Xavier isn't fond of women who reek of desperation. And I'm just like, what about her reeks of desperation? She thinks she's married to this man. She knows that she's going to have a child with this man. Like this is part of the treaty. She's just found out he has a child. What do you expect her to do? She's in a foreign country. She knows no one else. What do you expect her to do? She's trying to create a marriage that is not two strangers.
Yeah.
Because
she's trying. She's genuinely trying.
Well, because like she even has said like multiple points throughout the book, like whenever they have sex for the first time, she's like, it's going to be super awkward.
Yeah.
Right? Because like they don't know each other. And I think she's just trying to get to know him. Like at some point I'm going to have to sleep with this man because he's my husband.
Yeah. I'd like to be able to like maybe look him in the face and not feel awkward about it.
Well,
or don't look him in the face. You don't have to look him in the face at all. Just turn around. It's fine. Maybe she likes it better that way. That works
maybe.
Too. Yeah. But yeah, it's like Guardian, like, come on, buddy.
Like, what point of her was desperate? It's not like she's showing up naked in his room after he's told her no 10 times. Like, that would have been a thing to try, though.
That would have been a thing to try. I mean, in terms of Friends, they called it, the naked man. But now it's the naked woman.
Yeah, it's just, hi.
If she did that and he said no, that would confirm to me, like, maybe he is gay.
Yes.
And the child was an oopsies.
See, I thought he might have been in like a long-term relationship. Like he was in love. Like I thought like, well, maybe he's in love with someone else.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Like I thought the Guardian was definitely the prince, but I was like, well, maybe maybe the Xavier's in love with someone else.
Yeah. What if Xavier was in love with the Guardian?
That would have been talk about like a way to have blown, assuming they weren't cousins, to have blown up this book. True, yeah. I would have not seen that coming. It would have been chef's kiss. Like that would have been a crazy like bomb.
That would have been so crazy. But here in this next part, we see Odessa try to become a real spy because she's like been coming up empty with finding out any information about Alisaria, and so she decides to enlist the help of Brielle, who later we're like, oh my gosh, why did you trust her? Like, no.
But at this point, I was like, good, you're gonna try and talk to someone. Like, you're gonna try and open up and be vulnerable and try and get help and not be alone.
Yeah.
Poor choices later,
that
but
blew up in her face. Yeah, that did not work out so well. Because, part of her decision to act like a spy is to fulfill her dad's request, but also to prove to herself that she can do it. She's like, I can do this. I can learn how to fight and be a spy, and, maybe I'll stop future princesses from having to be the sparrow, because clearly it sucks. So she plans to pose as a lady's maid and have the supply merchant that comes into the treehouse town take her into the next town while Brielle pretends to be Odessa inside of her treehouse, just like dealing with her period. Because she's like, tell a guy you're on your period, and then they just like look the other way. They're like, oh, I don't want to think about it. Like, oh, yuck. Which is very true, and it often works. So not a bad strategy, really. And it does totally work. And Odessa is able to sneak off and get into Ashmore, the other town, without any problems. And you're like, is that too good to be true? I don't know. And so she walks into the town and she sees the Guardian. She's like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. He sees me. Oh no. But he doesn't seem to notice her because he's just talking to a beautiful woman, a beautiful blonde woman at the tavern, and she instantly gets jealous. And of course, we find out that Guardian is not with that woman. He was waiting for Odessa in her room at the inn as soon as she walks in because he just knew. He's like, you're up to trouble. Like, what are you doing? And at this point, it has to be clear that he has a sense of like sensing her presence. Like, how else can he just find her, But that theory later where he's like, the monsters are attracted to you. I'm like, and he's part monster. I'm like, he can just sense her. He can find her.
I think so.
Plus, like, if they're kind of like a fated mates, maybe the eyes. I don't know. Something with that. Yeah. I don't know. But he's able to find her, and she's like, crap, my plan is ruined. And he's super pissed. He's like, why would you do this? Why did you leave? Like, you're being so reckless. But she does stand up for herself because she's so tired of having all these decisions about her life made by men. And you're like, yes, queen. Good for you.
Like, yes.
So happy. You're like, you don't tell me what to do. Like, I don't bow to you. I don't have to listen to you. Like, first of all, you're not my husband. So, no. And also, even if you were, no. Like, I can do what I want. And then the Guardian really starts to confuse her because he's like, you could have just asked. You could have just asked to explore and I would have said yes. And he's like, because maybe the door to your cage has actually always been unlocked and all you had to do was push it open. And she's just like, wait, what? What? And that statement just like literally sends her into an emotional spiral because she's just been caged her entire life by like her father and like ramifications of like not fulfilling his request. And then like now these like questions of like, she's like, I'm caged by an arranged marriage. Like, I've been caged, like, in my own house. Like, what are you talking about? All I've ever lived in a cage, even if it's a gilded one, it's still a cage, And he's just like, no, just go. It's fine.
Like, maybe it's all in your head. I feel like, like, if it's like, what do you mean? Like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, what do you mean by that? Like,
yeah.
You take my ladder away at night. What do you mean I'm, like, not caged?
Exactly. It's like, you literally did not allow me to leave.
You yell at me to stay on the fucking boat. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. Seriously. He's so, at this point, I'm just like, Guardian, you are just like so funny. But also it's like a walking contradiction.
He gives me some like a lot of Xaden vibes. Like very different personality, but a lot of like, when Xaden's like, you're not where I put you, Violet. Like that's what I thought of in this point. I'm like, you're just mad because she's not where you put her. Tough shit.
Sorry, we don't sit and obey and be pretty little wives.
You married the wrong princess.
Mm-hmm. Or the right one.
Depends what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Well, but so what's funny about that is he's like, well, maybe you're not caged, but I'm gonna sleep in your room to guard you. And I was like, but we're
And
not.
steals her pillow.
And steals her pillow. And so at this point, I'm like, ooh, are we getting a one bed trope? And I get really excited. And then
So
he's like,
excited.
I could even sleep with you. I could even sleep with you. And it doesn't happen. He sleeps on the floor. And I'm like,
Such a
I
tease.
I love to hate a slow burn. Like I hate slow burn, but I also love it. So it's like this weird like back and forth with me.
Oh,
Because I'm just like,
same.
get to it. Get to
Yes.
it. Or get like or
Get it
slow
on.
burn
Let's go.
and then get to it and then get to it a lot. Make up
Yeah,
for it.
like let's just open Pandora's box and just like never leave. Can we just
Correct.
like jump in head
Jump
first?
in head first.
Yeah.
So, and then in Ashmore, Odessa runs into Catherine, and we learn the town's library has also been burned. So we're just burning all the libraries.
Burning the books. It's Fahrenheit
Burning the books.
451 in here. Just burn all the
Exactly.
books. Great.
And she talks about how King Ramsay is pulling soldiers from all the towns into the cities. So the townspeople will have to now protect themselves, even though they're not prepared to do so. And I was like, cool, that sounds great. And if that isn't like the perfect forewarning for, let's get attacked by some bear wolves. We're just taking a nice little stroll in town. Now we have to run for our lives.
Cue monster attack.
Cue monster
Great.
attack.
Yes.
Great. And so they're running to find shelter from these monsters, and the Guardian's like fighting off all the bear wolves. And then it gets crazy because they're like in the tavern, and somehow a bear wolf gets into the tavern, and Odessa now knows how to use a crossbow to shoot at it. And this is also where she's like very concerned about the Guardian and his safety.
So
which
sweet.
is kind of sweet.
way.
In a way, because like she wants him to die, but not by monsters.
Yeah. She wants to kill him.
Kill him.
Not a monster.
Correct.
Yes.
And so she ends up on the balcony as like she's shooting this crossbow. Then the balcony collapses, and then a bear wolf is headed straight towards her because having one attacker wasn't enough, or try to. And then the Guardian kills it. And there's this moment where like then the crossbow is like pointed at the Guardian, and she was like, and he's like, just do it, and she doesn't.
Like he knows. He knows.
He knows.
He wants to.
And now she knows that he knows, like 100%. So, and she doesn't do it, which should confirm, like, girlfriend, you got feelings for him.
I know, feelings.
You caught feelings. It'll be fine. And then he comes back to their room, or her room that he's sleeping in, and he's drunk.
But
So
not only did she catch feelings, but she can't kill him.
She
They're
can't.
married.
But she doesn't know that, though.
But she doesn't
at
know
the time.
it. Yes.
I know,
Yes.
right?
It's just so crazy. You're like, she's like, I wanted to, but I couldn't.
Couldn't. Because you love him. Because I love to hate him. And then his solution is to get super drunk, apparently. But he comes back and he has like no injuries.
Yeah.
Which
You're
then I was like, explains why you didn't see the cut. Like he didn't have to bandage his cut when they got married. Even though he still has a scar from it. And then we also find out that monsters with green blood have Lysa.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that sounds bad.
Yeah.
We don't know like a ton about it at that point, but like that does not sound great. So
Not good. Not good at all.
not good. Like this poor
It's
girl.
like, yes, these monsters are sick.
But like not like they have strep. Like it like real bad.
Like rabies. It's
Like
they have
rabies,
like
yes.
rabies sick. Yeah, because sometimes I think they even say like they like foamed at the mouth in a certain way. Like their eyes were like milky and like ugh, yuck.
And they become more deadly. And like, how do monsters become more deadly?
Yeah, it's like they're already killing machines.
Yeah.
Not good. But then after this attack, which was just horrendous because I think like 17 people died or something. It was bad. The Guardian is like, all right, we're going to leave. And she's like, oh, we're going back to Treehouse Town. He's like, nope, we're going to Elder. We're going to Xavier's home, where you're going to get to see Evie every single day. She's like, oh, okay, well, I love Evie. Evie's great. But also she's like, when am I going to get to go to Alisaria? Like, she's like, Alisaria, are we going? Are we going? He's like, no. But again, like running her around in circles so she gets disoriented, can't figure out where she's at. But they get to Elder. And Odessa learns that they have dungeons there. And that is where Evie's nanny, or well, her like, what do you call it? Tutor?
Tutor. Yeah.
Yeah. No, governess is what they call it, like in a way. Luella. She keeps all of the books and scrolls that technically are like forbidden. She like hides them all in there. But, Evie knows where they are. And Evie's like, I'm going to take Odessa to go see them. Because they were like, we're playing hide and go seek, but I'm going to show you something fun. And it turns out Evie is just like really great at finding anything that you want hidden. She's really, really good at it. Everybody's always like, I don't know how she knew about this. And it's like, kids are always watching. When you think they're not,
Yes.
they are. They know these things. Honestly, when I was a kid, I was always sneaking around and finding stuff that I definitely was not supposed to be finding. But it works.
It happens.
Yeah. And we see Kathleen again. So she is working with Luella on the hidden books and gives Odessa more books to read, which we later learn is pretty much how Kathleen was trying to give Odessa information to uncover what's really going on, since she is in a blood oath to not tell her the truth. So it's kind of like a way to just like circle it and find like a loophole where she's like, I didn't technically tell you these things, but if you're smart enough, you'll figure it out. And Odessa is smart enough, she figures it out. And then Odessa finally does get a sword here. And you're like, yay, you got your sword, good for you. And then we get more training time with the Guardian. And there is sexual tension up the wazoo. It's just like, are they finally going to figure this out? Like, I don't know. And we get him to start tell her more things, such as the name of his horse and how Lysa makes monsters even more savage. And again, we were like, how? And it's just like, normally the monsters are only out to like get food or protect their young, kind of like a typical animal would. But they're like, once they get Lysa, they just have uncontrollable rage and they just want to destroy and kill everything in sight. And they just have bloodlust. And
like vampires.
Like a vampire.
That's what I thought
Yeah.
of.
Pretty much. Yeah. And he's like, by the way, I know this because I have Lysa. He's like, I've been bitten by a werewolf. And that's how we got it. And he was just like, Lysa is now spreading everywhere over the past 4 years, but no one really knows where it came from or how to stop it. And it's like, we don't really realize this while we're reading the book, but the timeline of when Lysa started is the same time as when Evie was born. So like 4 years of Lysa, 4 years of Evie. Did Evie cause it? No. But there's breadcrumbs. There's definitely breadcrumbs there. And plus, every single king in Calandra does know about Lysa, but they, of course, expect Tura to solve the problem. They're like, well, it's mainly in your land, so, you figure this out. Because Odessa's like, well, maybe my father can help. And he's like, who says he doesn't know? Maybe he does know, and he just is choosing not to help.
Doesn't care.
Doesn't
I
care.
feel like that is a lot about the world today.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, oh, there's war and there's bombs going off in other countries. Oh, we know about it. What are we doing about it?
Not my problem, is I feel like what a lot of leaders are saying. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah. It's like, you have a pandemic over there, whether it be a disease or whether it be war. It's not here. Not my problem. Gonna be your problem. If history repeats itself, it's gonna be your problem. Speaking of chaos ensues on the way back to the treehouse town with another monster attack. And Odessa is able to get Evie to safety in the treehouse, and she sees two little children running to get to safety. And there's a Tarkin that is trying to attack them. And it's just like, honestly, so stressful, this situation where she's able to get one kid up and then she's holding on to another one while she's trying to climb her rope ladder. And she's just like, this Tarkin is just like jumping at them and like trying to pull them down, and they fall. And you're like, oh my God, she's going to get eaten, or this child's going to get eaten. And I'm just like, no.
Right?
And thankfully the Guardian shows up and saves her. And you're like, oh, thank God. And, Tilia shows up and like takes her to the infirmary, and she's like, it's so brave of you to do that. Like, everybody's starting to kind of like believe in Odessa that she's like not a bad person and like actually wants to help. And while she's at the infirmary, Odessa sees the Voster priest, and he is using magic on the Guardian, and he's trying to siphon the Lysa out from his blood. And basically, based on what the Voster priest has learned about Lysa, it seems to just adhere to this thing called Korrikan, which makes Odessa think this is more like of an alchemy thing than a magical thing. Because at first she was like, Lysa is a magical thing, like maybe that we can like figure out like a spell or something to undo it, like who knows. But with alchemy, she's like, maybe there's a cure. And that's like another little breadcrumb there about how perhaps this whole thing got started. Like, if it wasn't magic, maybe
Someone made
it. Yeah. So who did? Question. Don't know. Lots of breadcrumbs throughout the entire book that eventually will lead you to the truth if you're paying attention to them, which I didn't see until the truth got revealed. I was too busy with my theories about who the Guardian was and who Xavier was that I like totally, this went over my head. I was just like, wait, what?
Well, that was
funny.
I feel like this book has so many breadcrumbs, like more so than some other romantasties that we've read on the show. And a lot of them pay off in terms of like, if you're paying attention, you do see them, they do come to fruition. They're not sending you in another direction that completely like changes everything. There's very few massive surprises.
Yeah. Like your theories get confirmed to a degree if you're paying attention to the right things.
Correct. And then you have like a lot of unanswered questions that you got like no breadcrumbs for, or like there's no way could have been solved so quickly.
Yeah. But then after this attack, Odessa's like, I'm going to convince the Guardian right now to like, just let me help you. Like, please, just let me help you. Like, find like the Lysa and like whatever is going on. Like, this is my country too. Like, I'm soon going to be their queen. Like, please let me help. Haven't I shown like you can trust me? Like, I saved these kids. And he's like, fine. You can come with me on a search for a den of these Tarkans. And they do end up finding the den. And they find one of the baby Tarkin puppies or kitties alive. And at first he's going to kill it. And she's like, don't you dare. She's like, if it has red blood and it's not infected, do not kill it. And he's like, all right. And he like scratches it and you're like, oh, it's red blood, not green. Yay. And Odessa's like, okay, cool. I'm going to keep it as a pet. And he's like, don't do that. That's a bad idea. He's like, because what happens one day when it like tries to kill you in your sleep? And she's like, I'll figure it out. Don't worry about it.
I'll set it free then. It'll be fine.
I'll set it free. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. And she's like, it doesn't have Lysa. It's fine. What if, these monsters aren't really monsters? They just need a little love, Maybe that's a breadcrumb there too, like the Guardian just needs a little love,
All I thought of at this point was, like the people who do something where they like buy like a cheetah or some sort of like baby tiger.
Yes.
And they keep it as a pet in their home or their backyard, where it's clearly illegal. They are not licensed zookeepers or exotic animal keepers, any of these things. And then it gets bigger and then they're surprised, like it attacked them. I'm like, what did you expect? You had a cheetah. You had a lion. You had a bear.
You had a tiger, Siegfried and Roy. You had tigers. These are wild animals.
What do you think?
Oh, so crazy. But I really hope that doesn't happen because,
I know. I like the little Tarkin.
Little Tarkin. Little Phase. That's a cute little name.
Which is a cute name.
Yeah. But we also, in this fun part, find out the Guardian's real name, which is Ransom. And I'm like,
interesting.
Did not see that coming. I don't love it. I don't love the name Ransom. I'm not going to lie. All I can think of is like a ransom for someone, like I just...
Or like the movie Ransom.
Yeah, it's like my brain just cannot compute and comprehend that could be like my
someone's
sexy man's name. Yeah, especially like your main female, like male character. I'm just like, could it be Xavier? Can we just call him Xavier? Can we call him Ransom?
I feel like I can't get past calling the other guy Xavier forever.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know.
Like it's really hard not to.
Yeah, like he's forever Dre. And just...
Yes.
Or he's never going to be Dre. He's just going to be Xavier.
Well, and Dre reminds me of Dr. Dre, and that...
Yeah. It's just not going to work.
This is why naming characters is so hard for authors, because we all, everyone has so many opinions, and it creates, like, a different perspective in your mind about who they are and what they look like and their behaviors and everything.
But Ransom?
It's not a horrible middle name. which is what
Yeah.
turns out to be. But I don't love it as like when I thought it was his first name.
It's better than Kingfisher, which is the
Okay.
name of the character in Quicksilver, which
Yeah, that is
I just
better.
could not get past that. I was like, Kingfisher? His name is Kingfisher? I'm like,
That sounds like a last name or like a two names. Like you're the king and your name is Fisher.
yeah, I cannot get past that. So I will take Ransom over Kingfisher,
Fisher. Okay.
but still,
But it's not
I'm
your
not a big
preference.
fan. It's not my preference. No, give me a Zayden or a Xavier,
Right?
you know,
Or Xavier. Or literally anything that's
or
just shorter.
literally anything else. Cal, Axel, Jax, Pierce,
Pierce. Any other name
any other name.
that does not involve kidnapping someone and requiring them to pay you a ransom to get them back.
Exactly.
Which
That's
is-
all I can think about every time. Like Ransom, I literally forgot every time that his name was Ransom. Like when I heard or even read Ransom, I was just like, "Oh, that's a name." Oh yeah,
You know
I
what
forgot.
though? Think about it. In some ways, that's kind of what he did,
Ooh, that's good.
right? Like now that you're saying that, because like he did go there and basically take the person who was not supposed to be the sparrow, in a way, kidnapped her as the bride prize. So,
Ransom is my middle name.
ransom is what I do.
It's what I do, baby.
We'll find out what he does later.
We'll find out what
Little
else he
bit.
does. Yeah.
So a few days later, they head to Rivali to find out information about a lionwick attack that has killed some people, and a lot happens on this trip too. So we find out that multiple people, including Xavier, Talia, Halston, and other rangers, have sworn to kill Ransom if he loses control because of the Lysa. Great. He then likes to tell people in town that this is Princess Odessa Wolf, which helps him get information. So he's using her title, which has been very secretive up until this point, with people in this town because he knows that people will talk more because they'll want to impress the princess. We also get to meet local paperman Samuel Hay, who wrote the book on Quentin. And we find out he heard the rumor about the Gold King, which is how oftentimes they refer to Odessa's father, about killing her mother from a drunk nobleman who didn't have any proof. Which, like, at first I'm like, that sounds like a lie. But I feel like there's more, there's a story there.
There's more there. And dude,
There's
she
more.
was so pissed when she found out that guy was Samuel Hay. She was like, "Oh, it's about to go down."
We're about to have conversations. She also learns that not a single soldier who's joined the militia has been seen or written home. I'm like, that doesn't sound great.
Yeah.
Alisaria is real.
Yeah.
The road
there
there,
goes the idea of like a myth of like it's not a real place. I'm like, which would
Which
have
is-
been genius.
it would have been. And I thought at this point, maybe it was. I was like, maybe this is just like this big rumor that they have to kind of create this illusion and to keep, we've talked a lot about on the show about like common enemies, or how you can get people focused on one thing so they're not seeing what else is really going on. I was like, what if this whole thing with Alisaria is not real and they're trying to distract all the other kingdoms? But it is real. The road there is treacherous and guarded by a stone wall. And the only way to get in is through a blood oath to keep the location a secret, which, couple things. The road's treacherous. Well, no shit, because everything in this land is treacherous. Like,
What road isn't in this place?
Exactly.
You know?
and then it makes sense why no one can talk about it, because it's a blood oath, so they can't say anything about Alisaria. They literally, because of that oath.
Do you think people just walk around with like their blood in a vial in case they have to like swear a blood oath really quick? It's like, you know what? I don't have a fresh knife on me or bandage.
Like
but here, I
Angelina
have a
Jolie
vial.
did.
Yeah. I have a vial of my blood. We'll just take a little drop, swear, you're good.
I don't need any more scars, so I just wear it in like around my neck.
Yeah. Yeah, good old Angelina Jolie, Billy Bob Thornton.
That's what you just made me think of. Like,
Yeah.
just carry it around with me.
Yeah. Ew. Ugh.
Well, and maps are forbidden and punishable by death, which does seem a bit much,
It's a bit extreme.
a bit extreme.
Yeah.
Paris, which is the city, is the unofficial capital, acts as the center for trade and commerce. And then King Ramsay and his soldiers arrive and prevent Ransom and Odessa from leaving the town. And he knows about Odessa being the bride prize, and he knows that she's a sparrow, and says that she should be an Alisaria. And she was like, yes, take me. Like in her mind, she's like, Hi.
I want to go.
Yes,
I want to go.
I'd like to go.
Let's go.
And Ransom says, not until she can be trusted. Which at the point I'm like, you don't trust her. And I think later, if I think back to the scene, I think it's because not until she can be trusted with what he believes is really going on. Not like with the location, because I think at first you think it's like with the location of Alsaria. I think what he really means is like the truth of everything. Yes. Then we get to watch what is one of the most heartbreaking scenes is the soldiers set Samuel's home and his shop on fire. And I'm just like, the poor guy and his kid watching everything burn down. They've already come to this land, like, because their wife and mom died. It was really heartbreaking. And then he tells Ransom, you have 1 month. And I'm like, yep, you are 1,000% the prince. Like, I've thought this. There is no reason that you can convince me otherwise. Like, if you are not the prince, I'm going to probably throw the book across the room.
Yeah. At that point, you're like, no, this is how it's supposed to be.
Exactly. And then that's when we learn also the truth about Banner's brother. That he was trafficking young girls, which is why Ransom killed him. I'm like, yes, that motherfucker needed to die. Like, I hope it was actually slow and very painful.
Yes. Hope so. Yeah. And again, you see like a good side of the Guardian where he like goes into Samuel's house and like gets him out and like helps him like get all of his like cherished belongings.
While the building's on fire.
While the building's on fire. Because, you know, he's indestructible. He can do that. It's fine. But, like, you know, it's all good. A little bit of fire. Nothing.
No big deal. Just a Tuesday.
Just a Tuesday. So it's like, okay. He fights bad guys, fights monsters. He, you know, will set himself on fire. And he's handsome. Oh, and by the way, he protects, like, everyone. And he, like, will, kill people. Yeah, it's like, and he loves children. Like, he's just a good guy. And you're like, oh, damn it, I don't hate you anymore.
I don't hate you anymore. Now can we get naked? Like that.
Now we can continue on to the sexual intercourse, please. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wait a while.
Yeah. But first we get a nice little slap in the face. They travel back to Elder, and Odessa gets a major shock. She goes to find Jocelyn, like not Jocelyn. She's just like wandering through and like through like servants' quarters and sees Jocelyn kissing a man. And who happens to be behind that man buttoning up their shirt? Her husband, Xavier. Well, she assumes is her husband. Xavier has been sleeping with Jocelyn and this other dude, having a funky threesome.
Yes.
What? But he won't touch Odessa. But he likes to share. At that point, I'm just like, I'm sure maybe Odessa wants to share. Have you ever asked? I don't know. She could be into that.
Yeah. You wouldn't know because you won't even talk to her.
Don't even talk to her. But maybe the Guardian doesn't want to share. I don't know. But Xavier apparently does have sexual ability and interest in other people. And so
it's not Odessa.
Just not Odessa. And she is pissed. Like, just so mad. Which I'm like, yeah, of course. Like, given what you know so far. And, like, how guilty she's even been feeling about, like, having, like, thoughts and feelings towards Ransom, aka Guardian. You know, she was just like, what the hell? But also she, like, feels slightly relieved. Because she's like, okay, like, if he's out there doing this, like, I don't have to feel as guilty about just, like, having these thoughts. But still, like, she was just like, not cool, man. Not cool.
Not cool.
But then this does lead finally to the truth coming out. Ransom tells Odessa about how he saw her on the cliff in Roslo, and like seeing her like jumping off the cliff and doing everything just changed everything for him. He's like, I need to set this woman free. And he's like, and when I die, then your tie to me will be broken and you can do whatever you want. Which, okay, that's kind of romantic in a way and thoughtful, but also like super infuriating because like this whole like ruse has just caused her so much like pain for the past couple of months of like, this person I'm married to doesn't like interest in me. And like, I feel like maybe they could have trusted her with this information a little bit sooner rather than her finding Xavier sleeping with somebody else, with 2 other people. Like, okay. But then it's time to deal with Jocelyn because clearly like either Jocelyn like knew about all this or she didn't, but either way she betrayed Odessa, you know, like that kind of sucks. And so Odessa learns that she started sleeping with this guy Vander back in the treehouse town, who then he asked if Xavier could join. And she's like, she acts like she feels bad about all this, but then we learn like that's a major lie. Like the Academy Award goes to Jocelyn, you know?
Yes.
And Odessa's just like, I don't care, but I have to send you back because otherwise, like people will wonder like why I'm not sending you back. Like this is my chance to send you back to give this information to my father. And she's like, can you please tell the king that I failed in finding the location to Alisaria? And she's like, she never shares any of the true like Tara secrets with Jocelyn, which is good because it's clear from this point that she's more loyal to Tara than to her father. But still, she sends a message back with Jocelyn, and we're kind of like, okay, peace out, Jocelyn. Like you're a little bee, little traitor's bee. Like bye-bye.
Bye.
No shame, no heartfelt goodbye. Just see ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.
Thank you. Next.
Yeah.
And then we get one of the best scenes, which is like when Odessa fights Ransom and makes him answer questions, which I was just like, yes. So we learn that Xavier, his name is actually Dre. It's his cousin. This ruse has been going on for 11 years because every prince and princess of Tara has a double until they come of age. And I didn't see coming. I was a little... I didn't. I thought that was really interesting. The king knows about this ruse. Ransom has known for years that her father's been trying to find Alisaria and that May was being trained as a spy. So clearly they're not good at this at all.
Yeah. He's like, my own spies are better than your spies.
Right? Your spies are not good.
Yeah. No.
And he needed a way to choose a different sparrow, which is how that bride prize came in. And most people believe that Dre is the prince since they look alike and he wears the crown, but a few people do know the truth. And he plans for Xavier to become the crown prince once he dies, which is why he's like, I
have Lysa, so like I'm gonna die anyway.
So the ruse keeps going on, and she's like, you know, like why did you tell me why? Like if you know this is all gonna happen, you're gonna die. Like why would you do this? Because she's, you know, insinuating like I have feelings for you, like why would you break my heart? And he said he didn't want her to keep believing the lie because Odessa is mine. So anytime a book boyfriend says you're mine, like just I'm like done. I'm done.
Take me.
Yes. Done.
Yours.
Then they finally kiss and I'm like, yes, it's about damn time. We're about to get to spicy stuff. And then she just leaves and walks away. And then he goes off hunting for a week. And I'm just like...
The tease.
Like, just pour cold water on me. It's fine. It'll be fine. It's fine. And then she's like, well, since I don't get to have sexy time, I'll just, like, make a map in case I'm... to figure out Tara and then find the truth and set myself free. And she goes to Samuel Hay. He was like, yeah, this may kill us, but I'll help you. I'm just like, okay, well, he's not such a bad guy. He might have not written great things about your homeland.
He felt bad. Yeah, it's like he was like, I'm sorry. I wish I never did it. You know, like I was just hurt.
I think some of it's true, though. I really do.
Yeah. Like he's sorry that he wrote it and got caught and like hurt her feelings. But he's also like, but some of this is true. Like, sorry.
I think so.
Like, you got to find out somehow. And also at this point, he's also really pissed off at the king for, you know, burning his house down. So he's like, yeah, I'll defy the king. This guy's a dick. Yeah. And so when Odessa does finally see Ransom next, they take a walk, which I'm like, it's not what I want you to be doing. Not at all. But he does, you know, start to open up about a lot more things, including that he hasn't spoken to his father in 4 years. You're like,
4 years.
4 years. Who else is 4? Oh. Evie is 4 years old. What do you mean? Oh, Evie. And at this point, Odessa's like, is Evie yours? Is Evie your child? And he's like, no, she's my sister.
Dun.
What? That's better than being your daughter, but what? And it turns out that his father tried to kill his mother. And we get another breadcrumb there because Ransom says his father was screaming, you killed him. You fucking killed him while he was strangling his mother. And you're just like, okay, that doesn't make sense in the story until like you realize later that his mother is Luella, and the him that the king is talking about is Ransom, because Luella injected Ransom with that stuff that eventually made him get Lysa. And so he was really pissed, obviously, that his son was dying from this disease, and he was really pissed at his wife. But as if that wasn't enough. At first you're just like, okay, what? Evie's your sister. The king was trying to kill your mother. We'll later find all this shit out. We get another little bomb here. Ransom believes that Odessa's father has actually found a way to break the Shield of Sparrows by killing the Voster. So he's like, if you end the Brotherhood, then you end their magical bonds. Uh-oh.
I mean, that makes sense, right? Like, that sounds bad.
It's, yeah, but that tracks, because if the treaty is over, then the other kings won't have anything tying them together necessarily, and they can have war with each other, and Odessa's dad can just wait it out and become the last king standing. So it's like all of this is just one big giant power play. Because he even says, like, later in the book that people of Quintus are really good at hiding. Because he's like, that's what you do, you go hide. So it's like, clearly if the king does all this, let everybody else go to war, he can go hide in his little bunker until everyone's killed each other. And he can come back out and be like, yeah, I'm still alive. Let me take over. But unfortunately, all of this sharing, this romantic little walk with all of this crazy information, gets interrupted by screams and a massive Barry Wolf attack. Ransom, being the guardian that he is, goes off to go fight the Barry Wolf, and Odessa tries to help save other people because she's just a good person like that. And it seems all of a sudden like all of the Barry Wolves are just attracted to her, and they come to attack her until the high priest just stands in front of her. And now we start to question, why are these monsters attracted to her? Like, why are they going after her? I'm like, does this have to do with her eyes? Why are her eyes golden? Her hair's red. And like all this secrecy, like, again.
Is she wearing the necklace?
Right? Like, what's going on? And so after Ransom and Xavier and all the others return from trying to hunt down the rest of the Beowulfs, we learn here that Tilia is pregnant. You're like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so happy you're pregnant, but I'm also like immediately worried. Like,
yes.
Is something going to happen to you? Like, I hope not. And two men then wander into Triau very, very ill. And Odessa has a very strong, almost painful reaction to two Voster priests. Because again, she has this like weird, like spidery, crawly, itchy feeling on her skin whenever they're near her. And this causes the high priest to then ask Brother Dime if he knew. He's like, do you know? And then he asks Odessa about, who is your mother? But he doesn't get an answer because all of a sudden Evie is missing. And she quickly, of course, like turns up after they like find her. And she's like, I was just trying to be brave and like, fight. And it's just like typical 4-year-old. Like, don't do that. You nearly caused us to have a heart attack. But by the time they get back to finding the Voster priest, like they're all gone. So she can't ask him any questions about like, what did you mean? Like, did you know? And who's my mother? Like, what aren't you telling me?
Something. Secrets. More secrets.
Oh, but at least Evie's safe.
Yes. But nothing better happened to Evie.
I'd be so
I'd be so pissed. So after this attack, they both start to question if there's something tied to one of them that's causing the attacks to get worse, right?
Yeah.
And then we hear Ransom tell Odessa that she is his choice, which is like super sweet. And then she responds that same.
Same.
Which then leads to them finally having sex. We have been waiting extremely patiently for more than 50 chapters.
The anticipation, literally. I was just like, please.
It was killing me.
Please. Like, this kind of teasing, like, isn't enjoyable.
This is not edging. This is like,
I need it now. Now.
I feel like this is like months of like dirty talk and then nothing happens. So massive, slow, massive burn. But the payoff was pretty hot. We'll get to that in a second.
It was good.
But then, because, we can't just have great sex, shit has to get real again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? When Odessa gets attacked by one of these mysterious men that had come into Tree Town, that they had brought into Elder, and he tries to kill her, and he says things like, it's melting me inside. I swore to my king, burn, burn, burn. Followed by kill her, kill her, kill her, kill her. while he strangles her. And like Odessa gets her dagger and she stabs him and he dies, but she's definitely hurt. And we see that the guy has green blood. So I'm just like, yes, Lysa. And why is he trying to kill her? Who sent her? What was he trying to kill her? Was he trying to kill someone else? Like, what's going on? So while she's recovering from the attack, this is when she realizes that Luella is Ransom's mom. I thought this might be the case earlier when I realized that Evie was a sister. I was like, I think, you see Odessa go, oh, is Kathleen his mom? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's Luella. Like, she would want to be close to her. But she realizes that because of her green eyes. And then the comments that Luella makes about how the bruises from being strangled, like how they'll start to fade, which is exactly like what happened to her when the king tried to strangle her.
So true.
Which is really sad, but she's trying to provide, I guess, some comfort in the horrible situation.
You know what's crazy to me? That she doesn't change her name.
No. Which you would think she would.
People knew who their queen was. Like, so is everyone just to protect her? Which if so, like, that's great, but it's just like everyone...
Or did they just never see her?
Oh,
like, think about it, right? Like, if she was in Alisaria, I wonder if people never saw her. Because that's why Ransom and Xavier can play this part. Like, people in Alisaria know Ransom and Xavier apart, but outside of there, they don't.
Yeah. And maybe Luella is just like a really common name.
It could be. I like it better than Ransom.
I definitely like it way better than Ransom. Yeah, for sure.
Then we get to see Ransom, and he's not pleased that Odessa was attacked. And this is like the first time that you see, I feel like, the touch her and die like mentality out of him. Like, he's always been very protective, but this is like unhinged, which you know how we love that.
We're kind of like, okay.
Okay. Hi.
Sure.
Hi.
Hi.
And then, basically they spend the next 2 weeks together, right? Like, as she's healing, mostly in bed, even though he won't have sex with her for like 2 weeks. But then they finally have sex again and we get another spicy scene, which we'll talk about later.
We can always use more spice though.
We could. Yes, we could.
After that slow burn, I wanted it was a slow burn, but I wanted it to erupt. I wanted there to be fires ablazing, but not because the books were burning.
No.
Not because of that. Other things need to be burning. But we'll get to that. So then Odessa starts to figure out more about the Lysa. And Ransom tells her what he's learned so far. So the man who attacked her did in fact have Lysa, but they've never seen heat from any animal infection before, because he kept saying, like, I'm hot, like it's melting me from the inside out, like I'm burning, like he had infection. But no animals had that at all. And second, he had no bite scars. So he had to have been injected with it somehow. He had fresh injection marks. And he also came from Alisaria. So you're like, okay, somebody in Alisaria is injecting people with this. What the hell is going on? Ransom believes that someone is, of course, injecting them to try and recreate him because he is the guardian. And like ever since he got it, he's been like super advanced in all of his abilities. So we think somebody's basically trying to create this like super army. Could be doing that. Odessa confronts Kathleen about the king injecting his soldiers with Lysa because of the books that Kathleen has been giving her. She figured out, she followed all those breadcrumbs. The king's militia is becoming injected with Lysa, which is killing them, and no one sees them again, which is, again, why, like, nobody hears from those people, because, hello, they're dead. Kathleen isn't technically able to confirm any of this because she took a blood oath. Again, she's just carrying around her vial of blood in case she has to take a blood oath anytime. But, she's been feeding all this information to Odessa with all the books that she's been strategically handing over to her. Luella then comes in with berries that are the exact same color as what's described as how you make Lysa. And it turns out she created it. Dun, dun, dun. But she originally created it in the hopes of making people strong, especially her children, before the next crux migration. Like, she had no idea it was going to be this deadly and this terrible. And so when she gave the elixir to Ransom, it was because he was injured during a training. So he was just like completely unconscious, recovering, and she's like, I'm gonna inject him with this to see if it helps him like get better. Like, what could go wrong? a lot because he also had been bitten by a berry wolf. And when he was bitten by the berry wolf, the elixir that was injected into him interacted with the saliva from the berry wolf, which then created this crazy bond between man, monster, and magic, which ended up being like the ultimate trifecta and created Lysa. So Luella has since been working on a way to try and cure it, but has not been successful so far. One of her alchemists, a long, long time ago, told King Ramsay about injecting Ransom, which is why he tried to kill her 4 years ago. Also, on top of that, he caught her sleeping with another man. That just, didn't help. So, because basically Luella was never in love with the king. It was an arranged marriage as well. But the king was like obsessed with her. And so he's going to find his wife to, pretty much ream her on injecting their son with this, stuff. And as he's angry to, approach her, he's like, oh, and you're fucking someone else? Like, you're cheating on me and you tried to kill our son? Like, now I'm really pissed, which is why he strangled her. And you're like, okay, I get it. I get why you're upset. Understandable. Like, still not the right thing to do, but I get it. But what's bad is now the king is trying to reproduce Lysa. And he's like, I'm going to try and make all these crazy other guardians, but he just can't do it because he's missing, a missing piece, which is the berry wolf saliva, which he doesn't know about. But, while he's doing all this, he's just killing soldiers left and right. So people are joining his militia and they're just dying. But a crazy thing happens when Odessa looks over at Luella's books. She happens to see that same little emblem of the wing inside of that, like, fiery looking thing that Odessa has on her necklace, on the pendant. And you're like, oh, that's connected. Oh, that is so connected. Why is it connected? What is this? I need to know what happened. What is this?
Something's going on. I was surprised that Luella was the one that created the original thing that became Lysa. I did not see that coming.
Didn't see that coming at all. No.
I never thought it was the Voster priest, but I never would have guessed it was his own mom. But it makes more sense now, like why the king wanted to kill her and stuff.
Yeah.
So after he learns about this, Ransom does not go into the best mental health space, right? Because he realizes he's kind of the one that has brought Lysa because his mom injected him, then he was bit. If those two things wouldn't have happened in him, this wouldn't have happened. So he believes he needs to go to Alsaria to kill all of the monsters, which also alludes to his father, to stop the madness. But he won't take Odessa with him because it won't be safe for her there. He also shares what her father asked for him to do, which we know he already knows. But it was nice to see her.
Time to be honest.
Yes, and vulnerable. We're sharing things. So 3 days later, he gets ready to leave, and Odessa has I feel another harebrained scheme that she is well, he needs an army. My father has an army. I'll go back to Quentin and I'll get his army and use his money to find a cure. And I'm like, oh, sweet girl.
You're so pretty.
You're so pretty. That's not how this is gonna work.
It's not gonna happen.
And then Ransom asks her to watch over Evie while he's gone, because Luella is gonna go with him to Alsaria. And so that's the plan until King Ramsay's soldiers show up and all hell breaks loose. That's the only way to describe it.
Yeah.
King Ramsay and the soldiers show up with Brother Dime and Banner. And I'm like, what the actual fuck?
Banner switch teams?
Here? That's what I'm thinking, right? But he's wearing still the Quentin colors. And I'm like, are there other Quentin soldiers here? What's going on? And they've come to say a crux scout, which apparently is just one of the crux, has been spotted along the Western Front 2 days ago, which means the horde of them is 1 to 2 months away. Doesn't sound great.
They're all like, this wasn't supposed to happen yet. We still
have
to prepare
almost
for winter.
A year, right? Yeah.
Way too early.
So the king says any troops not needed to run the fortress in Elder are needed in Alsaria, and anyone not wanting to stay in Elder are welcome in the city, but you have to leave tonight. And he orders Ransom to go with him. And then we find out that King Ramsay also made a bargain with the Gold King and General Banner. And Banner is going to take his fiancée back to Quentin. And let's just say, Ransom assumes he means Odessa, and he is fucking pissed.
Yeah.
But he's not
Jess
talking
is
about
like, no, I'm already married.
Mary. Like, I'm not
No.
going anywhere. Fuck you. And then Banner's not talking about her. He's talking about Brielle. And I'm like, excuse me, what? What?
Excusez-moi?
like, you came for me. And I'm like,
honey,
what?
I'm here. Hi. And you're like, what?
What? And then if it can't get worse,
Of course.
we see Jocelyn come in because, on a horse, because she's a trained warrior who was sent with Odessa to spy. And I'm just like, this poor girl has been lied to by literally everyone.
Yeah. And honestly, I was just like, so your father did not trust you to spy, sent another spy that was such a good spy that you didn't even know was a spy. Like,
correct. But then also, Brielle and Jocelyn, weren't those her ladies' maids to begin with?
Yeah.
So, like, they've been spying on her. So Jocelyn's been spying on her the entire time, too? Even before she went? Like, that was the question I had. Like,
yeah.
It's just interesting. Because we
how
know they
long
weren't.
has she been a spy?
Exactly, because we know they weren't May's ladies' maids. Because there's a comment that Odessa makes in the beginning about how maybe she should have taken them because they were prepared to leave.
Yeah.
And they, right?
Yeah.
Then we learn that the soldiers have captured Luella because Jocelyn realized Luella was the queen and shared that information. And Ransom has a blood oath and can't kill his father, so we got another blood oath. Yeah. But Odessa's like, fuck you, I don't have that same oath, and then holds a sword up to the king's throat. Unless he lets Luella go, which he does.
It's like, fine.
But then it doesn't go well.
No, does not go well. Because King Ramsay is like, oh, well, now I'm going to push you over to Brother Dime. So here you go with the Voster.
The Voster priest.
Yeah. Brother Dime, who supposedly wants her. He's like, okay, you wanted her, you take her. And it's like, wait, what? And
wait, what?
Yeah, right? And Odessa's skin feels like it's on fire when he touches her. So as of this point, like, she's never had any physical interaction, really. Well, besides, like, she ran into one of them, kind of. But still, like, he touches her and she's just, like, on fire, like, insane. But then a crux shows up, flying overhead, and just shit hits the fan. And Odessa's like, holy shit, like, we need to get out of here because this crux is starting to kill people left and right. Odessa gets Evie and her pet Tarkin phase, and her weapons, and her journal, and goes to Luella's hidden little secret, like, place in her room behind the hidden, like, everything. Everybody just hides everything, you know?
Right, very secretive.
Very secretive. And she, like, plans to go to the dungeons to escape that way. But then Banner shows up, planning to kill Odessa because of what she means to Ransom, because he's trying to seek revenge on the man who killed his brother. So he's like, you killed my brother, I'm going to kill the person that you love the most. But during the fight, Banner throws a knife, which ends up hitting Xavier in the gut. And you're like, no, please don't let Xavier die. No. And Evie's just like
screaming
in tears like, Papa. And you're like, oh, this is not good. But then Odessa kills Banner, and you're like, okay, good. Because, that apple did not fall far from that tree, from that brother. It was just bad, like,
yeah,
not good. And Odessa then, like, wants to try and get help for Xavier. But he makes her leave to go protect Evie. He's like, no, like, you need to protect my daughter. And she's like, well, let me help you out with something. She does her little whistle that she learned how to do. And, like, leaves hoping that someone will recognize that signal and, like, come back and help him. And then Ransom finds Odessa, tells her it's not safe for her in Tara and that she needs to leave and she needs to go, and gives her his bracelet, which is a map. And he's like, you know what this is? And she's like, yes, I know. It's the map to Alisaria, because she's figured it out. And she says, I'll go to Trope. And he says, I'll meet you there. But if I don't arrive in 2 days, then you need to take Evie from Tara and, quote unquote, do what needs to be done. Which means giving her father that map to Alisaria. Which,
or at least that's what I'm assuming, right? Like, is that how you, right? That's how we take it.
Do what needs to be done. It's like, okay. Which is giving me major, like, Onyx Storm vibes, right? Like, what you asked me to. You're like, what needs to be done? What do you mean? Is it that? Is it this? I don't know. And Odessa finally tells Ransom that she loves him. And you're like, oh my God. And he responds in the same way, like when she used to say, I hate you. And he's like, I know you do. And she's just like, I love you. And he's like, I know you do. And don't forget it. And you're like, So cute. And he's like, I will find you. I will find you either here or in the shades, which is like their afterlife. And I'm like, no,
No.
here, please.
Here.
Not in the shades. We're not going to go in the shades. We're going to stay in the sun, not in the shade. Okay? And then Ransom fights off the crux because he's a badass. And he gives Odessa and Evie some time to escape. But while they're trying to escape, Odessa and Evie run into Brother Dime in the tunnels, who tells them to just come with him now and that he has her horse with him. And the horse doesn't seem to be scared. And she's like, well, you know what? I don't trust the Voster, but like Ransom always did. So she's like, I'm just going to go with it. I'm going to trust him. I'm going to go with him. And that's what we get at basically the end of Odessa's point of view. She's riding off in the middle of this craziness with the Voster and Evie. And we're just like, I don't, what has to be done? I don't know. So this last chapter we get is actually Ransom's point of view, but it's super short. Ransom basically is saying that he's done pretending to be someone else. And he sees a naked woman resting in a pool of blood with his sword in her. And he's like, I put that sword in a crux. How did this happen? And this woman, he goes up to look at her, has red curly hair just like Odessa. Excuse me? What? What? The crux was actually a woman? Can Odessa turn into a crux? Is this her mother? And then
Are
Ransom
cruxes
leaves to
actually
go.
people?
Are they actually people? Yeah. And then Ransom's like, I'm gonna go find my wife. And boom.
Over.
End of the book. And you're like, I have many more questions. It wasn't necessarily like the craziest cliffhanger. I mean, it's still a cliffhanger of just like, what do you mean? What is happening? Like, I got a lot of answers along the way, but so many more questions now.
So many more questions. Well, and I feel like it's one of those books that I can't stop thinking about, where I'm like, the more I think about it, the more I think about like, oh, what does this mean? Or like, oh, maybe it's this. So it keeps it in my head, but not in a frustrating way. Because sometimes when there's a massive cliffhanger, I'm like frustrated. I'm like, just freaking tell me.
Right? Yes.
Whereas
like,
now
I
I'm
need to
just
know.
like, I'm like thinking about it. And I felt like he gave very like Rowan vibes, where he was like, I'm gonna go get my
Yeah.
wife. And I was like, damn it, I love that line. Okay. We did not get a lot of hot and steamy.
No, we didn't.
So
Which
we're
is a
gonna
bummer.
say like this is like a 3-pepper book. So if you don't like a ton of hot and steamy, you like a little bit, this book is like perfect, I feel like, for people that are not into a ton of graphic details like you and I are.
Yeah. We're like, give me all the graphic. I might even say this is like a 2.5, you know?
Yeah.
But 2.5,
But
3. Three's generous.
Yeah.
Because
Well, I feel
when
like
it
the
does
only
get
reason
spicy, it gets spicy. Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like the only reason it's a 3 is because if you think about like the difference, like it is open door. Like you do read what happens. It's not like it's happening behind closed doors, and it's not like, oh, and then they went to bed.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Okay, so we got 2 chapters. We waited till chapter 52.
We got there finally. So, okay. So we got chapter 52, which you're like, finally, there's some spice going on. And, okay. Here it is. A growl. Oh, I love it when they growl. Growl is so good. A growl tore from his throat before he crushed his mouth against mine. He stole the air from my lungs, a beat from my heart, as he carried me inside and kicked the door closed behind us, which right away you're like, yes, that sounds great. With a spin, he pressed me against the wood as he licked the seam of my lips. Ha! A pulse bloomed in my core and heat spread through my veins. And he says, yes, my queen. He grins and seals his mouth over mine. If the last kiss had ignited the spark, this kiss set me aflame. He nipped and sucked and licked and devoured me whole. That throb became an ache as I rocked against him, desperate for friction. More, I murmured, locking my heels at his lower back. She wanted to memorize every line, every peak, every valley, the strong plane of his chest, the cut V at his hips, the ripples of his abs, and the cords of his arms. Oof, honey, me too. Right? He swept me into his arms, his body covering mine as he kissed me until I was breathless. He buried his face in my hair, sucking in a sharp inhale as he took a moment. His entire body vibrating like he was testing the limits of his control. Stroke after stroke, he brought us together, our bodies moving like old lovers, like a husband who had loved his wife for an eternity. And you're like, oh my gosh, yes. And then a little bit more. He fucked like he moved, with a grace and fluidity that wasn't natural, but gods, I wasn't complaining. He took me higher and higher, driving me to the edge of a cliff. The fall would break me apart, and though the fragments would stitch together again, the woman I'd been once would be gone. And oh my gosh, that is
so good. Like, it's
so
not
good.
just like spicy, but it's also like just the words and the emotion that is created. It feels almost like a rebirth for her.
Yeah, like
in
she
so
says,
many
like,
ways.
yeah, like I shattered into 1,000 pieces, white stars breaking behind my eyes as I cried out. You're like, oh, this is like
That's
beautiful.
nice.
Like, this
It
is
is.
magical. And he's just like, we're just getting started, wife. You're like,
Oh God, yes.
sign me up, please. And then you have chapter 55, where she's just like, we spent countless hours entwined in my bed over the past 2 weeks. Most of those hours had been for me to rest. But not quite. Ransom groaned as I kissed the column of his neck. His arousal was hard between us, my core throbbing as he rocked it against my clit. With a quick spin, I was on my back and pinned beneath him, my legs wrapped around his hips as he fitted himself to my entrance and slid home. So deep, I gasped. And you're like, oh my. And she just says, Ransom, more. And he's like, mine. And she breathes back into his ears, yours. And you're like, oh, okay. Ooh. Yes, please. Last night was all about pleasure, about a release. We fucked hard. He pushed my body to new heights, taking me to the edge only to haul me back, dragging it out for hours until I begged him to come. I love it. And I love that he just has like these really beautiful like green eyes when he's just like in love or in lust, and you're like,
right?
Don't mind if I do. And it is so nice. So nice.
So hopefully we're hoping for more spice in the second book.
Yes.
Just putting it out into the universe, trying to manifest it.
A little bit more spice, please.
A little bit.
But not enough spice that we get Lysa. Like, not that much spice.
Yeah, I don't want Lysa.
No. It's like an STD. You don't want Lysa. Oh, which reminds me when they were talking about that, and she's like, so whoever you have sex with can't get Lysa? And he's like, oh, you're interested in my sex life, are you? And she's like, no, I'm not. But good to know now.
But good to know now.
Good to know.
She's all good.
She's good.
Okay. Let's talk theories, because we've got a lot of theories. Okay, so first one up. Why wasn't Odessa chosen as a sparrow by her father initially? Like, she believes it's because she's not strong enough and her father doesn't trust her. But is it really related to her mother? And is her father trying to protect her for some reason? I think so too. Why, I don't really know. I think it's related to her mother, but there's something more to it.
Yeah. And I think her mother hid like that necklace because maybe like it represents like where she, kind of came from and like why she can turn to a crux. Like, or, can Odessa turn to a crux? And does her father know that? And is that why he didn't have her be the sparrow?
Maybe. I don't know.
Many questions. Also, why is Odessa's red hair like hidden? So Margot wants to conceal any memories of Odessa's mother, and you're like, okay, like she's upset. And obviously like the red hair is part of that. So we think, honestly, there must be a bigger reason. I think it's tied to the mystery of the crux and the monsters. And also very interesting that Ransom was drawn to Odessa because of her red hair. Is that a monster thing? Is it just like the red hair is just like a signal of like, come get me? I don't know.
Right? Like there's something tied to it though, right?
There
and
is.
Why doesn't she have a starburst like everyone else? Theoretically, does this mean she wasn't born in Calandra?
Where was she born?
I don't know, because we're told everyone born in this land has a starburst. Is it possible she's born in another land? I always assume when we get a map that we don't get the whole map and there's other people in other places. Or does she have magic within her that causes her starburst to not appear? Could her eyes also be changing color based on emotion, like Ransom's? But we don't learn this because we only see her POV.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But I feel like somebody would comment about it, like.
But we only hear her point of view. So unless they were commenting to her in a scene that we're in, we wouldn't know that.
It's true. Oh, good theories. Good theories. Also, who was, or is, Odessa's mom? What happened to her? Is she really dead? Did the king actually kill her? We have no idea, but we do believe that this identity is extremely critical to the plot in the long term. We also question if she's really dead, because again, we don't trust anything unless we've seen a body. But then we did see a body at the end, and now I'm like, is that your mother? Is she dead? We wonder if Odessa's father killed her because of who she is. Like, did he know that she was a crux? Or is she a crux? Or
is she the leader of the crux?
Is she a leader of the crux? Why? There's so many questions.
So what significance does the necklace play? We know it was hidden. It has to have belonged to someone in her family. I can't see one of the servants hiding it. Most likely it has to be her mom's. We also believe that it was hidden there because her mother didn't want it found by anyone. Because if it was something she was proud of, why wasn't it with her things? Why wasn't it something gifted down to Odessa?
Yeah.
We also
know...
Why
the secrecy?
Why the secrecy, right? We also know that every time she puts it on, she feels it warms her chest. She mentions that, which is like an interesting tidbit because the man who attacked her said he was burning. And right? And then Odessa says she feels like she's on fire when Brother Dime touches her. So there's something with like when she wears it, it creates this warm sensation that has something to do, like something bigger.
Yeah. Interesting. That's a good point. Can she like heal it? Wonder if she has the cure. Somehow.
What if she is the cure? Oh, that would be good. You have to like mix blood mixing.
Her blood with something else. I mean, I'm just assuming you have to mix blood at some point because there's always blood and it's a book. There's always
everything's
something.
A blood oath.
Everything's a blood oath, yeah. Maybe put a little bit of her blood in like the Lysa mixture and see what happens. I don't know.
Well, think about like when Castile and Poppy get married and they like cut themselves and then like push their blood together. Maybe it's like that.
Maybe.
We'll see.
But another question, why is King Ramsay burning all these books? Initially, again, it feels very Fahrenheit 451. We first see him burning down a library in Ashmore. He definitely wants to control what information is available, but we're thinking it's more about protecting the Voster priest, and protecting Alisaria, as well as keeping others from finding out any way to recreate Lysa. Because again, like that's kind of how Luella did it, and maybe with, Kathleen's ability to like send these books over to Odessa to figure it out, like the king doesn't want other people doing that. And that's why he's doing this, because he knows that there's like secret codes or like secret things out there in these books. And he's like, I don't know what's out there, so I'm just going to burn it all. But why? But
why? There's so many reasons. So who was the man that tried to kill Odessa? Did someone send them to kill her? So we know it was likely a random citizen, probably a soldier, like a militia soldier who was injected. We also, I would say, like feel pretty strongly that he was sent to find Odessa and kill her for some reason, right? Like he didn't just show up on Treehouse Town by himself.
Yeah.
With no reason.
Someone.
And like
somebody sent her.
Exactly. And the obvious choice initially is that it has to be King Ramsay. Like that's what like I think the book wants you to believe. But we know that all of the other kings know about this.
What if another king sent this person?
What if they've been working on stuff and no one knows this?
And there's so many spies. And so many
there's so many spies. And they've all been made aware of Lysa. They're supposedly leaving the prom to Tura. But what if like that's not really the case? Is it possible another king has created Lysa and sent someone to attack Odessa?
Like they're an assassin.
Yes.
Ooh.
Or is it possible there's someone else within Tura that wants to hurt Odessa that isn't the king? Because I don't think it's the king because that's too obvious.
It's true. It's very obvious.
Like it being the king or the Voster priest is just too obvious.
Good theory. I don't know. Are monsters pulled toward Odessa or Ransom? Yes, I think so. Super. 'Cause there's definitely something tied to Odessa that like the monsters just like are attracted to her in some way. And maybe it's due to her heritage, maybe the necklace that she wears, like we suggested. There's just so many times where the monsters seem to attack her or just like come near her and are even more vicious than like when she's not present. So most of these times we know she is wearing the necklace. So again, is this just like a magnet that like pulls them towards her? Is that why Ransom is so pulled towards her himself?
Because he's
Part
monster.
monster.
Don't know. So what's the story with the Voster priests? Are there only 2 of them? Does each kingdom have one? We've only met 2. They're super creepy. Odessa doesn't really trust them. And I don't think she trusts them at the end when she goes with Brother Dime, but she does it because like Ransom trusts them. But there has to be more than just 2 of them. I think each kingdom has likely one emissary.
Yeah.
So
but
are there
does
more
Ransom
of these?
Trust them. What does he know?
He knows a lot more because he says his father would like die to protect them.
Yeah.
And we're led to believe the Voster priests live in Alisaria.
Yeah.
And are loyal to Tura more so than anyone else.
Yeah. And how does one become a Voster priest? Are they
I don't
born?
know.
Do they join?
Do they? I imagine they were some like. We're in vampire world,
I don't
so
even know.
like I was
I don't
thinking
know,
they're like
man.
some sort of like weird vampire-y creature.
Yeah.
That's
I
like
don't know,
not
man.
like that's like dead, but
Yeah, because
alive.
one guy like floats on air. And you're like,
And they have weird curly nails.
that ain't
like,
right. Well, so I thought originally Lysa came from them because like the green fingernails.
nails.
And I was just like, green. Colors are very important. And lack of colors are important too. Hence why she had to wear gray and like brown
Yes.
hair.
So things wouldn't be attracted to her.
Maybe it's the red hair they're attracted to.
Maybe it's like color in her because she does wear color all in. Even when
Yeah.
her hair is covered and still brown, if you think about on the ship when the Mara wheel attacks them, she's wearing pants and it's different colors. She even comments about how like there's so much color in the outfit.
Yeah. So are they just like colorblind and like her natural red hair is like a magnet for color? I don't, because other people are wearing color too, but I'm specifically
But there's
her.
something inside her that draws them in.
A light. I don't know. But why does Odessa's skin burn when Brother Dime touches her? So I think this has to do with something related to her heritage from her mother. There's definitely something within Odessa that causes the Voster's magic to react negatively to her, and she feels those repercussions. Because she asks, like, don't you feel this, like, with these people too? And everybody's like, no, just you. And she's like, that ain't right. That's not a good sign. But it's clear that the Voster priest knows something about kind of what's going on with her. And, like, maybe that's why the high priest asked Brother Dime if he knew, like, why are you reacting to him? Like, do you know who her mother is? And you're like, just like super freaked out. And like, she was super scared. And you're like, I don't know. But additionally, we know Brother Dime wants Odessa at the end of the book and takes her and Evie somewhere. Like, I hope they're safe. Like, are they going to Alisaria? I don't.
Well, that's where I think, right? So if we think about where they're taken, the most likely place is Alisaria because that's where the Voster priests reside. But the question is, like, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because I don't think the Voster priests are inherently bad.
Yeah.
But I don't also trust them.
Yeah.
Like they know more. They know more about her heritage and what's going on than they're letting on.
But Brother Dime is also her father's emissary. So
correct.
Is he taking her back to Quintus?
I don't think so because I think he resides in Alisaria. That's the impression I got is but he would go to Quentin. And how do they get there? Is it on ship? Do they magically float? Can they apparate? Yeah. Like, how does it work?
I don't know. Does Odessa's father, what does he have planned? Like,
great question.
I don't think everything that he has led Odessa to believe is actually true. Because, like, yes, he wanted to find Alisaria, and, like, yes, he sent her there to spy and, like, try and take out the Guardian. But, like, was that a test to see if she could take out the Guardian? Did he know, perhaps, that the Guardian was really the sun, and he, like, wanted to test this theory. I don't know. Or maybe he's just like power hungry and he like wants to take over everybody, which would be kind of boring. And also like,
No.
let's not. But he married a crux woman, you know?
At least we think, right?
At least we think. Well, maybe all the crux have red hair. Maybe, yeah, like that's not necessarily her mother. And that's just like her aunt or her sister or like a long lost relative.
Yeah. He probably didn't know she was a crux if she was in human
Or maybe
form.
he did and he killed her when he found out. My other theory was maybe Margot killed her because she was jealous and she wanted to be queen.
That's
and she
very
had
possible.
an affair with the king.
That is possible. That is possible. So,
because it's very suspicious that she was the queen's like handmaid,
like handmaid,
like
but
BFF.
she would know that. But that would mean that she would know the truth. So maybe she found out the truth and then told the king.
They're in on it together. They had a love affair. Oh.
So is King Ramsay good or not? Like, I want to hate him, but we only see Odessa's point of view, which is influenced heavily by Ransom. And we know every narrator is an unreliable narrator.
Yeah.
So could he have the kingdom's best interest at heart? Because we know he is trying to protect the Voster priests, which clearly are playing an important role. He also seems determined to recreate what happened to Ransom with Lysa, which we're led to believe in the book is all about creating an advanced warrior. But what if he's really trying to find a cure for his son?
Yeah. I think it's a little bit of both. I think he's trying to find a cure, but he's also trying to find a cure in the sense that like he wants to make more guardians for like when he needs them and then cure them when he doesn't need them.
Yeah.
Perhaps. Just like a super warrior, superpower thing.
Turn on, turn off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's easy. That's easy like that.
No big deal.
No big deal. What could go wrong? Are Odessa and Ransom fated mates or just like linked somehow? I think yes. We know that they are supposedly the only two people without a starburst in their eye, and they are super drawn to each other. Feels like there is something bigger going on there. There's a reason bringing them together that is just so similar to a fated mate. We haven't heard really like what the term is going to be, but there's got to be something in here where it's like whether you were just like, you know, meant to be, quote unquote, or just like a prophecy of some kind, you know, where like two people in this land do this and they
will come
both
together.
Have starburst. Yeah. Create a new starburst of multiple.
And it's the Treaty of Starburst.
Yay. Yeah. Shield of Sparrows, Shield of Starburst. And then everybody gets starburst candy.
See, everyone wins.
Everyone wins. But only if it's a pink starburst.
Oh, the pink and the red are the best.
The best.
The best.
Yeah.
So why did the crux come sooner than anticipated? It might be crazy, but you know I love crazy ideas. What if it's tied to Odessa wearing the necklace? What if that is sending off some...
Never thought of that.
Like, think about it. But like, what if it sends off some sort of signal and it started this whole chain of events? It's like calling to them.
It's like,
and that's why it was so hidden.
It's like the ring from Lord of the Rings.
I'm assuming because I've also never watched that movie.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Not watched Lord of the Rings.
Do you know Sandlot? You're killing me, Smalls?
Yeah, I know Sandlot.
Okay, you know that one. Okay, you got that one.
But if you want
to do the podcast on romantasy and like fantasy, but you haven't seen half of the fantasy.
I mean, so to be super clear, have I seen it? Yes, while my eyes were closed.
Gosh.
I tried to read the books and I literally I couldn't. And it is almost impossible. Like I have that type A personality. It's almost impossible for me to not finish a book. And I could not finish the first book of Lord of the Rings. I couldn't do it.
It's like my husband Jordan's like favorite series of all time.
Could not get into it.
But I think there is a capacity like in the same way where just like it is like a beacon of some kind, and that's why they came early.
Yes.
What if that was her mother trying to find her? Yeah. Who can Odessa trust? At this point, I don't know. Maybe no one. Like, from all the books that we've read, like, you can't trust anyone ever for anything. Maybe Evie. Maybe she can trust Evie, but only because she's a child. you
Yeah,
know?
right?
She can maybe trust Ransom, maybe Xavier / Dre, maybe Talia and Halston, maybe Kathleen, maybe? I don't know.
I don't know.
But
I
I don't
I
know.
get vibes from her. Like, I just don't feel like there's more going on to that story, I feel like.
Yeah, but so maybe it's just Evie. You can only trust the
Evie,
innocent
only the
children,
child.
and that's it. No one else.
We trust no one.
Yeah.
This is what romantasy has done to us. We trust no
Mhm.
one.
I trust no one. I trust that no one is dead until I see the dead body. I trust that no one is who they say they are. Yes.
Everyone lies.
Everyone
And we
lies.
keep coming back for more.
We
Okay.
do.
So scenes that made my heart race. There were so many thoughtful ways Ransom provided for Odessa throughout the book, even when they were fighting. He always ensured like she had proper clothing, or he would get make sure like her tent had a warm bath. It was like these really tiny actions to show that he cares early on, even though like I think Odessa couldn't see it. Like when he would make sure she had like clean pants, she would get frustrated that he came into her room without like while it was locked or something. And I'm like, he made sure you had clean pants. Like,
You're welcome.
yes, but also you're welcome. So,
But then he was like, you snore.
well, she might.
And she does. She's
Right?
like, no, I don't. I do.
I do.
So good.
It happens.
Yeah.
I love it when they spar on the mat, especially after she learns the truth about who he is. Like, I loved all their training scenes, but this one felt like you got to see like raw emotion. And so to me, it was like feeling like her like bust through like that wall of like all the feelings that she's kept in over the years.
Yeah.
And then if we're talking about when my Apple Watch told me that I needed to calm down, was basically from the moment when King's Ramsay and his soldiers show up in Elder with Banner. It was like utter chaos. I didn't know what to expect. And it was hard to put the book down because so much happened so quickly. There were people dying. It was just, no one was who they said they were. It was crazy.
Yeah, it was nuts. So what made my eyes roll / kind of like room for improvement? We need a chart for all of these monsters in this land. Like there's just so many of them. And it's really confusing at first. Like, okay, so here you have the Tarkin, and then here you have the Berry Wolf, and here you have blah, 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 blah. It's a lot. And we also haven't really learned much about the Crux, except that they're bad. And the migration happens every few decades, supposedly. Like, they kind of look a little bit like Griverns in a way, but they're like bigger, almost like dragons.
But not.
Maybe, but not. But like, they have these tails that can like skewer people and like talons that can cut them in half. And you're just like.
And like, how big are they?
Yeah. And like, do they range in size? Like, I don't know. No one talks too much about it. And
no, it's weird, right?
yeah. And also, no one seems to address why it happens. Like, what they really look like besides like that artwork and what she's seeing in Quentin. Like, do they happen for population control? You know, is it their own version of 7?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you kill X
More
amount
than
of people to like
7,000.
7,000, 7 million. I don't know. Are they keeping score? Do they have little tally marks? I don't know. And then also there's like just this constant mind fucking that is happening between the Guardian and Odessa when he's just like giving her shit about wanting to be in Xavier's bed. And you're like, okay, I get it. You don't trust her at this point in the book, but also like, you know where she came from in her life. And like, it's so frustrating to see him constantly trying to like verbally like hurt her and like emotionally confuse her and abuse her in that way. And you're like, come on, you're better than that. Like, I know you're testing her, but come on, you're better than that. And then Banner, I just don't like him. Everything about him, he just sucks. Especially how he was like planning to kill Odessa at the end. Like, you were engaged to this woman. Like, sure, you didn't love her, but like, come on. And it's super frustrating that he just never learns the truth about his brother before he died. And I'm like, but did he know the truth? Was he in on it?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Banner just doesn't seem like a good guy. I
Maybe
feel like
he's
he
worse
might
than
have
we
been in
thought.
on it.
Oh god, that's
Yeah.
like worse.
It's worse. So then we're
That's
glad
worse.
he's dead.
Yeah, we're
glad he's dead.
still super glad he's dead. Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of what's next, if you enjoyed this book, you'll probably also love the other 50 contemporary romance books that she's written, especially if you like her writing style. And then I would say from a romantasy perspective, this book reminded me a lot of the Empyrean series by Rebecca Yarros. It also felt very Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. So if you haven't read those two series, I feel like if you like this one, those would also be a great pick too.
Yes, absolutely. And then please join us next week for 2 new episodes. First, we are going to dive into the world of romantasy again, and we're going to cover the 3rd book in the Blood and Ash series, The Crown of Gilded Bones by Jennifer Armentrout. And then we are going to jump back into our contemporary romance and discuss Variation by Rebecca Yarros. Happy reading, everybody.
Happy reading, everyone. Thanks for listening to Late Night Reads. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at Late Night Reads Podcast. And check out latenightreads.com for even more information about all the books we're reading. If you loved today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast. And share the show with your fellow book lovers.